When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who were initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't, let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary meeting, people went there, sat, listened, looked at him, there was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You have land, Dennis. Yeah. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But sure, it goes a little bit deeper. This is it.
If you find the tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around.
Yeah,
why? Tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
He is himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda mbali sana hii. So and we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice. When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu waulizi na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel alone in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Why, babe?
Good
Forgotten how these things are worn on the head. And even how the chair is being sat.
Yeah, those things are so tight.
Sheesh. Everyone got ya. Yeah. Yeah, we're allowed to do things like this, Bwana. It's life.
It's life.
Good morning.
Morning.
How you doing, Dennis
Salama
Aseto?
sana.
Uko salama? It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Asante
Welcome
sana.
back.
Thank you very much. Sikuwa mbali, just over the hill and far away. Just kidogo.
Kidogo tu.
Mwonje vile itakuwa.
Zoea.
Zoea. Why they cut your hair?
Oh yeah, I did cut my hair.
You cut a different style. You see me, I noticed the details.
I did cut a different
What
style,
are those people? These people, you think they love you.
So I went, sat, and my bub was like, why don't you try something else? I was like, my friend, it's a canvas.
Doing something different for a change.
Muhimu sana.
Sindio? Ivi, unaona. Ivi said she also saw. She told you. Sindio? Good morning. It's hey, I've even forgotten. 11th of November.
Yes.
7/11/2025. And tuko hapa. It's the 11th.
Yeah.
11/11, sorry.
Yeah, 11/11.
I'm just thinking 7-Eleven because it's like a
7-Eleven.
fast food store in the States.
Yeah.
And we are here. Good morning on this Tuesday. Many things happening. Wait. See, when you tell somebody while you are away.
While you are away.
The president was in Doha.
Yeah.
And he sat before James Bath. And he said some very interesting things.
A lot.
Many things there are happening here in the country. And in another, 15, 16 days, there'll be a by-election and people are already getting their, a bee in their bonnets and their knickers in a bunch. It's already starting to happen. And while that's going on, KCSE is still being written. And the economy has been fixed, education system has been sorted out, health system on track, and jobs, 430,000 jobs have been created for Kenyans abroad. Things are looking hunky-dory. This is according to the president. That's what it looks like. So, Kenya's in a good place. And so, we should be happy.
I mean, even that interview alone, if you just listen to it and you compare with the manifesto that the president gave to Kenyans, it's a total failure and a flop, because the president promised 1 million jobs every year. So if you're talking about 430-something jobs, and you compare to the deficit, because now you're talking about 3 million against 400, what happened to the deficit?
This is a good question. He's also told us that he's fixed the housing issue, because they were, according to the manifesto, it was going to be 250,000 houses a year. I think we're at about 2,000. I don't know how you do your math, but for me, I'd say about 240,000 short. But that's just me. I didn't do too well in math. I don't know.
But here we have experts, we have advisors. Perhaps they would advise the president. Achana nayo, let it pass. Just say we are constructing houses. The project is ongoing.
In fact, let me tell you, say, with what we have and who we have, we are doing the very best that we can.
That we can.
Period. Yes. Nobody will accuse you of lying.
I promised Kenyans houses. Don't say the numbers. The numbers you will fail. You utaanguka exam. This is kidogo mwa Kenya we are giving out.
And that's where we are. Where? Well,
Uganda?
Okay. So Bob Jaggi and Nicholas Oyo came. Well, okay, they didn't come home. They were dumped somewhere along the border, as we thought would happen. It was the hope that they would not turn up dead. But, brethren back in Kenya, still holding strong to solidarity, but it is visibly clear that what they went through was nothing short of tormentous. And then to hear the things that were said thereafter. When somebody tells you something, please believe them. Believe what they're saying. Oh, we arrested 2 Kenyans. I don't even know their names, but they were trying to support Changulani, which was otherwise known as Bobby Wine.
Professional demonstrators.
They're professional demonstrators,
So we picked them up and put them somewhere in a fridge.
Can you imagine?
You know what fridge means in human perspective? That means you are in a moog. So when someone gives you that reference,
you are going to die.
You are going to die.
My friend, you think that was then somebody else from another country saying that, and then what we then saw thereafter was that the Senator for Nandi County said, you know what, it's okay, teach them a lesson there, and then we'll come and finish it here.
What did he say? Finya how?
Gabisa. If anything else he said before that was supposed to deliver some form of comfort, the last thing that you said essentially put the final nail in the coffin. Because if Kenyans were ever wondering what people felt, what leaders thought, and I'm not saying this in concert, that few leaders which could form the thought for others, that a few leaders think this way, believe them. They've said it openly over and over again. I'm going to repeat, it is not all leaders who think this way, but those who have the kahunas to say it publicly over and over again, you might want to believe what it is that they're telling you. Up on the Truco, my friends. And those are the things that form the basis of Kenya's biggest conversation as we get into it this Tuesday morning. Getting into it proper today, let's tell you some of the things that we'll be talking about. Yes? We'll get into a conversation at 7 a.m. and we'll do this with Stella Gara, who's a governance and security analyst. County Funds Oversight Bill. There's a bill, folks. And guarding devolution or clipping its wings. Let's look into that bill and see some of the things that devolution should then be able to deliver. There have been many cries out saying that, you know what, we are not doing it the way the Constitution envisioned it to be. So how do we then do it right? We'll have that conversation at 7 a.m. which will then be followed by an education conversation. Education under scrutiny. Ghost students, grade 9 transitions, and teaching healthcare. What's going on? Cry. Okoh Milemba is the chairperson of KUPPET, which is the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers. Mwalimu Peter Amunga is an education advocate and a researcher at Kewota. He'll join us also. They'll both join us at 8 o'clock because things they are interesting. In about 2 months or so, we'll have the first cohort of grade 10 students. And are we ready? We can say unequivocally right now that we're not. What's going to happen come January 6th when schools open?
When's the last time we were ever ready?
For what? Or for this thing, education?
For education to just run smoothly. Bus.
Just don't know. But we're going to talk about that at 8 o'clock because it's necessary for us to open it up, Kidogo. Jojo Do is a senior partner and MD at Africa Invest East and Southern Africa. Ted Panton is the CEO of Turaco. They'll tell us what those are when they come. We're talking about funding the future. How Boost Africa is powering startups across the continent. We know already that there is a huge responsibility that sits on the shoulders of MSMEs. They are the ones that build the economy. If you are not giving them the much needed things that they need in order to do this, how will your economy grow? We'll be asking some of those questions and looking into the future, how the future will be boosted. Sawa. Those are the conversations we have today in the Situation Room. Ndo and Dennis Aseto with you this morning. Karibuni sana. 22 minutes past 6 o'clock. Our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, X. Thank you for being here this morning. As we get into it today, Karibu sana, our audience on KTN. Good to have you in the room as we're getting well into November. All right. Uli tupeleka wapi hii wiki?
Freetown.
Sierra Leone.
Yeah, so 15th to 18th century, it was inhabited by the Mende. If you're Kenyan, achana hapo. If you're Kenyan, usulize Mende ni wapi. Wachia hapo. The Teme and other ethnic groups later became a major hub in the transatlantic slave trade. So in 1787, Freetown founded as a settlement for the freed slaves from London.
Okay.
And their key exports include diamonds, gold, bauxite, rutile ore, the titanium ore, coffee, cocoa, and fish. One would say the country is rich in resources.
Indeed.
Yeah, let's go to the proverb that we get from them. A single bracelet does not jingle.
That's true. You can't go it alone, really. If you're trying to create a sound, if you're trying to create a thing, if you're trying to create something that is going to be successful later on, even if you're the solo act, you got to do it with other people in order to create that music that you want, isn't it? I often think about athletes or tennis players who, for the most part, do this by themselves, especially if you're playing in the singles. As tennis, you do it alone. If you're an athlete, say for when you're running a relay, you do it alone. If you're throwing a javelin, if you're shot put, discus, you're alone. However, you've got a team of people who are behind you, with you, around you to make this happen. You have your coach, you have your physical trainer, you have your nutritionist, you have your manager, you have all of these people who make the concert and make the music. So if you think you can go it alone, you may go.
Yeah.
But how far will you go?
Exactly. You know, it's all about, so every other time I would go political. So every other time politicians get out there, I want to become a president, fine, you form the government. But then again, for any government to move, there is need to have a cabinet. So that cabinet is what then, through working together, ensures that systems do work. How good they do it is a different question. But for a government to work, there has to be that team of individuals, a small group of individuals who, through their expertise and engagement, make sure that every other department in our country does work. But ukisema mimi najua kushinda kila mtu, iko shida mahali.
Kabisa. It's a problem.
Iko shida.
Iko problem.
Iko shida.
Kweli. Get it? True. Love it. let's work together where we can, of course, contributing something in one way or another. All right. Wacha tuwasalimie kila mtu. As you get into the room this morning, just a reminder, tuned in on radio across the country and indeed the region and the world, and on our live streams across social media platforms. And thank you also for being here. Those of you who listen silently, we're welcoming you and listening as you're going to bed in different parts of the world or waking up this morning. Always good to have you here. And so quick good morning to you. Good morning from Mombasa, says Robertson Bogo. Good morning. Peter Kiaria says, be the man who can hit rock bottom, restart, refocus, reform, and rise as though nothing happened. Be that man. Be that person. Indeed. Pan-African Kenyan says, good morning from Nairobi. Good morning. Asilin Zomo says this morning, listening from Gasharage. Say hi to the billionaires and millionaires. God is watching them. Enjoy your day, people. Thank you so much. Good morning to you. Christopher Goris says, good morning from Maseno. Paul Ndete is greeting us from My Mahue. My Mahue.
Hot water.
Hot water. My Mahue. Ramtula Omar says, good morning from Preston in the UK. You keep jumping about, don't you? Colchester today, somewhere else tomorrow, but you're in the UK. I've heard the death toll in TZ is between 5,000 and 20,000. Where? Well, yet to be verified. I really hope it's not true. Sawa. Dennis Olaka says, good morning from Kisumu City. Good morning to you. My prince says, what's up, everybody? The hustler narrative, the plan is slowly being replaced with the first world narrative. Karibu sana, and thank you so much. Good morning, guys. Eric Owar says, you're stoked. Good morning to you, Karibu sana. Engineer was my dad. Daudi Lubale says, good morning. Welcome back. Ndu Flower. Thank you so much, Karibu sana. Nani mwingine kama mama katika jamii ya Spice. Ooh-wee. All right. Bwangi Juma says, good morning. How are you doing this blessed Tuesday? How are you doing?
Good.
He's good.
Kabisa.
Fiery Red says, Ndu, you back? Yes, I did. Aseto did a great job holding down Kabisa. And the haircut is one... I was going to say it's one time. I'm sorry. Ooh-wee. I'm sorry. It's nice.
One time, man.
It's not me. Okay. The haircut is great. Good morning to people. I missed you too, Agolas. Thank you so much. Good morning to you, my sister. Roger Nyange tuned in from Voi in Taita. Mtuflani says, good morning. Welcome back and to thank you. Aseto's kinyozi apewe bonus kabisa. Be doing like this all the time.
That Burundian.
That guy, he's up to good.
Because honest.
This is so true. That's exactly how it's said. It's true. Good morning, all, says Mutuflani. Yes. Sarah Kilonso says, good morning. Mwamkata, Kenya. Mwamkata. Okay, yes, that's one I know. Mwamkata. Nesa. Iregi Wajo, he says, good morning, Jumbo. Ready for the daily dose. Good to see you back. Ndu, thank you so much. NDU. Mashari Njeri says, good morning. Ruto can't help lying. It's in his DNA. Where? Mkwama says, good morning, DND. Good morning, Mkwama, my sister. Good morning. Elizabeth Obondi says, good morning. Welcome back. And thank you so much. Hisa Daniel says, good morning. David Mangera, good to see you too. Karibu sana. Thank you so much. Margaret Wajohi says, good morning to everybody. All SpiceFM Situation crew, EVE, Christine, everybody making it work. Karibu sana. Awar. You guys have to meet Awar. You know, every day we bring you nice things. You can never say we treated you badly. Yeah. We bring you nice
Trust
things.
us. We're telling you. We are cruising nicely.
Now everybody wants to know who is at war. We'll tell you. Just wait till like Thursday. Herbert Shisukane. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I know how it feels. Have a blessed day. Good morning, Spice team. Good morning to you too. Sasa mtu fulani na mkwama umeanza kusalimiana huko ndani. Isa Kale says good morning. Kale says good morning. Yes, indeed. Back. Thank you so much. Tom O is smiling, laughing. Good one. It's about the Mende. He's laughing at your Mende.
It's okay.
Langat kusema ukweli, good morning. What Nandi senator said about abducted Kenyans in Uju is the exact mind of Githinji. I see some Kenyans joking when we warn them to reject Hitler. You guys, when somebody says something with their mouth, because you know the good book, and I believe the good books along many religions say this thing, that what is in your heart is what you speak.
What you speak, yeah.
Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So when somebody should open their mouth and tell you, then later they come and say, actually, I didn't mean it.
But you see, at least in this one, there's that part where the president meant what he said. I don't
regret it. And repeated it. He's even telling you.
Yeah.
Where? Wagwan Spice says, Kimathi Nkrumah Makonnen, I hope everything is nice. It's nice kabisa. Carol Nyambura antupenda sana, tunakupenda pia, my sister. Agutu Ogembo says, good morning, welcome back, thank you so much. Ramtule said, you're in Preston for a while? Sawa. Stella says, welcome back to both of us. And where have you been, Stella? You've been missing in action. Did you take permission? Can't just be going anyhow. Abraham Kimeli says, good morning, team. Michelle, thank you so much. It was a power nap. In fact, it was not even days off. In fact, if that's what it was a power nap. Bashir Adam says, good morning, welcome back, thank you so much. Live from Uganda. Simon Kibiru is also here. Good morning. Joseph Gema says, good morning. Asante sana, good morning, Team Spice. Okay, sawa. Mtu Flani is just greeting his sister them. I like the camaraderie inside there. I'm telling you, if you're bored one day, no, not even you're bored, you want to see some serious discourse, get into the chats on our socials and enjoy the second leg of that conversation in there. Thanks for joining us, guys, this morning. Always a pleasure to be able to take a sit down and take a stop and say hello to you. All right, the headlines, they are bursting with information, and let's get into it this morning. On the front page of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. Principles from hell. Corruption. Tin pot dictators, corruption, entrenched tribalism, high-handedness and biased promotions have become familiar ills in schools. Strikingly, these malpractices are not just introduced by junior staff or students, but by those entrusted with running the institutions. These are the people responsible for shaping the character of our children. Revelations by teachers who have endured the excesses of their superiors, whether online or through the media, often read like chapters from the fictional book some of them teach in literature classes. It's crazy, the things that are happening in schools. This forms part of the conversation that we'll have at 8 o'clock with the two gentlemen, but it is not a pretty picture that's painted. Detention and harassment shake Kenyan expatriates in Tanzania. That story continues in the Nationals on page 2. Politicians, clergy eulogize Bishop Sulumeti as a servant of humanity. Sad one to see. On the same, we're also seeing the death of singer Betty Bayo. Sad to see, unfortunately. A court holds a session at the place where fisherman Odhiambo was last seen, for them to be able to get a physical representation of some of the testimony that is being shared. Religious leaders condemn chaos rocking Kasipul constituency election campaigns. I know it's quite something to see what's going on. People are in fear of their lives looking into that by-election coming up on the 27th of November. Teachers clash with principals. TSC caught in the middle of turmoil. Remember that we're looking into a never to be seen before year come 2026 in terms of education. And now is not the time for you guys to be fighting. Behave yourselves. We've invested heavily to ensure integrity exams, as coming from Mikos Ogamba's office. But while that's going on, they finally agreed to join Shah after a standoff with the TSC. Senators yesterday went to Kiambu County. Mm-hmm. They went to the referral hospital and they were in shock horror. Because what? How can that be happening? At a level 4 hospital. Level 5 hospital in Kiambu. Long queues, people waiting to be seen, no stretchers, delays in the hospital IT system. They were shocked. Another one had no vehicle stretcher to move his deceased from the vehicle to the morgue. Senator for Kisii Onyonka was broken down. He was like, what is this? Yeah, not too far from the center of power. Laundry, broken down incinerator. So how are you getting rid of waste?
The question is, how long has that county had issues to do with healthcare?
Months.
Did it have to wait?
More than months.
Did it have to wait this long for them to show up?
For senators to go and perform the oversight role?
Because that is the health committee, right?
Yeah, it's the health committee and it's chaired by Senator Mandago.
Yeah.
So one would ask, okay,
you realize Kiambu, you realize even if you just took a bicycle and started cycling to Kiambu, you will get there.
Sini hapa tu Thika Road ukishuka
Exactly. And where is the parliament?
Hapa tu town ukishuka.
So we have to wait for all those months for us to address a problem that is affecting the residents. Iko shida, siko baya.
Also, people don't have to tell you how they feel about you. Yeah. You will know by how they behave. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Police abet mob violence as the poor fill prisons. Okay, that's a report that's come out. It's been revealed. 10,000 police jobs on hold amid IG recruitment row. These guys are still fighting among themselves. Okay, get it over with. Let's move on. How banditry drove residents to landslide-prone Kerio Valley Hills. And there's a story here about former CS Aisha Jumwa. She's moved to block a 60 million house debt recovery. It's her house, she says, and she's still paying. So all these stories now, we're not ready for you. Government is not ready to offer fully paperless services. Yeah. Okay. And we want to do first world. I see you. I see you. But yeah, very. But we're not ready to do that just yet. In many countries across the continent, by the way, I'm not letting anybody off the hook. I'm just telling you that very many countries across the continent are not ready to do this.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about first world, and let me not start. It's too early, Abi.
You want to get to first world. Look at what those that sit in that position did. And if there is any lessons you will learn, apply it to your situation and you will get there.
Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah. The biggest problem we have in our country is corruption. Deal it. Fix it.
We don't want to. If we don't, let me tell you something. You don't want to be first world. If you wanted to be first world, there were things there would be things that you would do. If I wanted to do something today, I really want to do something, I will do it.
Yeah.
Barring all challenges, every obstacle in my way, I will do it.
You will do it.
We don't want to do it. If we wanted to, we would. Just like I keep saying, I'll give you an example. Nigeria, you want power to be across the country, you would. But you know what? Some people do not want it because some people have the contracts to bring in generators every year. You don't want to be first world. If you wanted to, you would. You don't want to be. So all these promises, people, that's where you should come from the place. You come from the place, if you're hungry, you eat. If you're sleepy, you put your head on the bed and you sleep. Don't give me this nonsense about how we want to get to first world, but then corruption is hitting you in the face. You don't have your infrastructure. You have opportunity to do things, but you don't implement them. Stop it. Don't even, in fact, let me see if I hear you saying first world. Deal with it. Taona. Kenya UAE trade deal heads to Parliament for final approval. So that's another story coming out of the business pages of the Standard this Tuesday. All right, let's look into other headlines.
So let's go to the Daily Nation, and there's that story of why Trump's deputy won't be coming to Kenya. Yeah, we'll look into why. Kabisa.
Before he was coming, Kukuja.
The second time now he's not coming, but that is after Trump
did that. When people tell you something, believe them.
Believe them. And double loss as Bishop Sulumeti, gospel singer Bayo, succumbed to illness. Pretty sad to see that. And health. Migration from the Minet-led consortium set to take effect on December 1st now. Teachers split over SHA medical cover. Dispute just hours after top officials of teachers' unions signed a deal with the government to migrate the medical insurance scheme of over 400,000 members to the Social Health Authority. A section of tutors have expressed displeasure, citing a lack of public participation. Primary school heads attending their annual meeting in Mombasa termed the transition rushed and opaque and warned of a backlash in the upcoming union elections. Walimu wanasema nyinyi mnatulazimisha, hii maneno hatujakubali. Police hiring stopped by the courts again. The High Court yesterday suspended the planned recruitment of police constables following a public interest petition challenging its legality. This raises fresh concerns over the adherence of constitutional mandate in the security sector, while issuing conservatory orders to halt the recruitment initiated by Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja. The court cited potential constitutional violations and overreach of authority by the National Police Service. Petitioner Eliud Matindi argues that the recruitment role is reserved for the National Police Service Commission. So there is an order that was given, was it last week? Or 2 weeks ago, that mandate lied with the Inspector General.
Yes.
Now, another petition has gone to court, arguing that that mandate belongs to the National Police Service Commission.
Si wafungwe kwa room moja kila mtu kidogo, they hash this thing out ndio wachana na sisi.
I simply have a simple question. Constitution 2010, how many years now? 14, right? In the 14 years, recruitment of police has been happening. That has set precedents on how it has been done before. What's the challenge today?
Let me tell you. Police recruitment, you've heard the stories. Let me hazard a guess. That when you see push and pull over something like this, iko kitu involved, bwana.
That's what we need to look at. What is bringing up all these conversation right now? Why now?
To me, and I don't know anything. To me, a service commission is supposed to handle the HR function of a sector. Now, the last time I checked, employment and recruitment is an HR function. Hello? I'm just asking.
Broken telephone.
I'm just asking. I don't know.
Can you hear me?
I don't know. I'm asking. Recruitment, employment, HR? Function. And usually those functions are under a commission. And they've been doing this before. So what has changed? That's my only question. In all of this petitioning and unpetitioning and urgency and unurgency, has anybody asked that question? What was the role of the commission in the first place? Who handles recruitment and employment in the first place? So should that not be your true north point to say, okay, what's going on here? And to see that there is now an interjection in the flow of the process, you have to ask, what has changed over time that now you're trying to take this function of recruitment to the office of the Inspector General? I don't know that the HR function is supposed to be fulfilled by that office. If it is different constitutionally, I stand to be corrected. But I'm just axing.
You're axing. Me too.
Yeah? All right.
So, Kalonzo has opposed KPC cell amid, is it Thange? Oil spill row. Yeah, Thange oil spill row. So we have this KPC cell, and it's a process that is ongoing. You know, we keep talking about this thing, but if you look at the movement with regard to KPC and it being privatized, the movement is actually proceeding. So question is, apart from just making these statements, how are we taking the conversation further in ensuring that if we want to stop it, we stop it. If we want to get the truth behind it, we do it. Because my friend, you wake up one day and find out this thing ilienda. And I'll not be shocked. Stolen identities and shattered lives. How Kenyans are trapped in a rising fraud wave. So SIM cards are taking out loans and even sale of property. That is what frauders are exploiting because we have weak systems.
Yep.
Mnasema mnataka kwenda digital world. Mambo ndio hiyo. Yeah, so let's look at the star.
Okay. Ruto plots to split opposition, targets Kalonzo and Wamalwa. In this case, when you say target, you will not see that there's a target on your back you want to shoot. Come let me be your friend. That's the kind of target that we want.
I will bring development to you.
Yeah, such things. You know, on that day for the 20th, it's called Mashujade. He had already promised that he was bringing, he's going on an Ukambani tour in the next couple of days, and he talked about what he will actually do in Ukambani. We are going to do this thing. There'll be water flowing from the taps in every home in Ukambani, Lower Eastern. In fact, he said that we'll do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll do all of those things. So it's possible those are the promises. But one Kalonzo Musyoka said, I am not a man to be, what did he say? I objectified, something. There's a word he used, but he said, it can never be me. Wamalwa also, what they don't.
What are you saying? It's crazy, Indu. All of us cannot be in government. You get what I mean? So that means if I, Dennis Aseto, want streetlights to come to my area, I have to be in government. That is my right, sir. I'm sorry. Give it to me because I deserve it.
It should not be the proverbial carrot that you dangle in front of people. This is actually your job. It's
what you signed up for.
It is what you are supposed to do it. So can you imagine how disillusioned the people are when somebody comes and tells you, you know what, I'm going to make sure that roads are built. And you're like, oh yeah, wonderful. Because you have abused people to the point whereby they don't even know what their rights are anymore. That I will fix the education system. Excuse me? That's what you're supposed to be doing anyway. That's why you have a cabinet. And that cabinet then has individuals who run ministries. And under those ministries are departments who have jobs to do. So when you come and tell people, I will build markets, I promise you, and so on that, vote me in. And I'm just like, sorry? I will build a road. Okay.
Are you not supposed to?
You know, if you tell us, I'll take you to Mars, then we'll be like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
But you're building roads and people are supposed to be impressed. This is your job.
I'm like, I'm not even supposed to clap for you. I'm like, thank you. It's here. You're supposed to do it anyway.
Abuse.
It's not a favor.
Abuse. The people of this continent have been so abused that even when somebody comes and tells them that they're going to do something for them, which is actually their job according to nations' constitutions, that they feel as though suddenly you're in love with them. It's like a man buying a woman a flower. It is not a gift. It's your job. You're actually supposed to do it. I'm just saying.
No, please say it again.
I'm just saying. How Nyamweya Rise could redraw Ruto's 2027 poll game plan. The man is one popular one. And it seems as though the scramble for Western is scrambling in his direction, and people are not so happy with that. So let's see. Focus now shifts towards Eugene as president seeks to isolate ex-DP Gachagua. You gotta give it to Gachagua. When he opens his mouth every now and then, he comes up with some interesting things. Goodwill or opportunistic? Ruto to attend ODM big day. So ODM has another big day.
Yeah, see, 20 celebrations.
Oh, bado. It's okay, sir.
We never finished.
All right. Okay.
It's going to be taking place in Mombasa, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gladys Wanga, the governor of Homa Bay,
did she go back to Homa Bay?
Sijui? I don't know Kamaba.
Oh, you had traveled. I'll find out.
Just find out if she's
back. Yeah.
No. She went. They went to Homa Bay. They did the Raila Day. Kumbuka.
Yeah.
They did it. Ochilo Ayako is now doing another one in Migori. So let's see how that will be. But yeah. People are still flocking to Opoda Farm, and we've been told that anybody who wants to go to Opoda Farm after December 30th, Imeja, it's booked fully. So it's become a museum, mausoleum of sorts.
Yeah, that's like, you can imagine if, anyway, it's cool.
Last time I could talk.
New life.
All right, let's look into some of these stories.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to look into this Brian Odhiambo story. We still don't know the details, but the things are starting to form, they are starting to take shape in terms of what happened. The court held a session where fisherman Odhiambo was last seen. A court in Nakuru yesterday held a session near Lake Nakuru National Park where missing fisherman Brian Odhiambo was allegedly abducted by Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers. Senior Principal Magistrate Kirui Kibelion recalled 3 witnesses who had testified that they witnessed 4 rangers assaulting and abducting Odhiambo on January 18, 2025. One of the witnesses, Agnes Achieng, took the court accompanied by their prosecution activists and a member of the public to a spot where she said she witnessed Odhiambo being assaulted. She was testifying in the case in which 6 rangers are charged with abducting Odhiambo, who has been missing since. I was doing laundry outside my shop here in the Manyani area in Nakuru East Sub-County, testified Achieng, who led the court to her shop. Achieng pointed out some 10 meters away where she said 4 rangers who were chasing Odhiambo caught up with him. I saw them beat him up, she said, and kicks to his head as he protested. They stopped beating him when he stopped talking and carried him to the park. She said they jumped over 2 fences as they dragged Odhiambo to a car that was about 70 meters from the park's outer fence. In cross-examination, Achieng said the rangers chased, beat and carried Odhiambo within 30 minutes. She said she had known Odhiambo for a long time because he used to play near her home when he was a child. So today's the 11th of November. According to these rangers, they don't know where Odhiambo is. According to some people who are serving term for the same charges that essentially were brought against Odhiambo, they were in the presence of these rangers when they beat up Odhiambo.
Yep.
So the act of denial that we've seen in the last few months has been very, very interesting, where people have said it was not me. The gentleman who is accused also of shooting Rex Masai has been shown down to a birthmark. And he said,
Not
in fact,
me.
Shaggy, that song, they should have
wasn't me.
called him to do the remake.
Yeah.
Said, me, no.
Deny.
So witnesses have come out. It will be interesting. This inquest still continues. Let's see. They've been charged already after the inquest, but now the trial then continues. The body must be produced, or dead or alive.
Or alive.
We've not heard that edict yet from court, but all the evidence is still being collected. But this is a man who now, because of his disappearance, it's possible that his wife is a widow, and that his child is fatherless, and somebody has to answer. We'll see what the courts have to say.
So, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has a plan.
All right.
And the plan is to fix Nairobi's ailing healthcare system. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has outlined ambitious reforms aimed at reviving the county's troubled health sector, including the establishment of intensive care units, hiring of specialized medics, improved drug supply, and major upgrades to health infrastructure. Just take that in.
Let me breathe a bit. Just
breathe.
Kidogo. Okay.
Are you done breathing?
Yeah.
Appearing before the Senate Health Committee, the governor described the plan as a turnaround strategy to restore public confidence in Nairobi's healthcare services. Please take that in again.
I'm breathing in.
Central to the reforms is the introduction of intensive care units in county hospitals. One would say they ought to be there anyway. Nairobi now has 46 intensive care unit beds, up from none in 2022. A move Sakaja said has eased pressure on Kenyatta National Hospital. Before I became governor, and I quote him, Nairobi had 0 ICU capacity in public hospitals. Today, we have 18 ICU beds at Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital, 10 at Mama Margaret Uhuru Hospital, and 8 at Mbagathi Hospital, along with new neonatal ICU units. 10 more ICU beds at Mutuini hospitals are 90% complete. The Nairobi governor said the county has hired 50 dentists, also from a previous 0, and established a free eye hospital near Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital. He added that the consistent supply of essential medicine has helped to draw more patients back to public facilities. The Nairobi Funeral Home, formerly City Mortuary, has also received modern preservation equipment. Sakaja added that cases have drastically dropped at Pumwani Maternity Hospital, once plagued by maternal deaths. We give him his flowers.
For doing what?
Hear me out.
Okay, sorry.
We give him his flowers. No ICU beds in Nairobi. We have 46, right? You've hired professional, you've hired more dentists, you've hired more healthcare workers. Fine. But that's what you signed up for. It is not something to say that you are fixing. It is something that is in your modus operandi, you know? And when you talk about 46 ICU beds in a population of 6 million people, one would ask the question, does that meet the pressure in that population? And when the governor says at health, including establishment of intensive care units, hiring of specialized workers, improved drug supply, and major upgrades to health infrastructure, remember this is something that is happening 3 years into him being in office.
Yeah.
So question is, what did he find? When you talk about ICU beds, remember during COVID, there were ICU beds that were set up in all the counties. Nairobi already had ICU beds. Is he telling the truth?
Just that ndio tunataka kuangalia, because it's very easy to say, but then to find out where these actually
are
is a thing of necessity.
Because I remember during COVID, Mbagathi had ICU beds, Kenyatta had ICU beds, and very many other hospitals had ICU beds. So if we are coming to say that Nairobi had 0, first of all, we need to confirm that, because I dare say that's not the correct position. Second of all, when you talk about improving Nairobi healthcare system, it shouldn't be that you are saying it. Kenyans will tell you It is not in a report that you're giving to Senate because you have been summoned. Kenyans will tell you whether it's working or not.
You know what? In order to overhaul something sometimes, what you do is that you don't introduce anything new. That what you currently have, that you make sure that it is spick and span, then you make sure that it is operating optimally. Remember that now PS Oluga at the time worked under the NMS, under General Badi, right? Yeah. They established 24 turnkey medical facilities in Nairobi at the cost of 800,000 per facility, more or less. So it was a plug and play kind of thing. It was ready to go. There was running water. All you needed to do at whatever level it was is that you just essentially come and insert your machines. And then you also saw the refurbishment and re-establishment of places like Bagavi and Mama Lucy, places like that. For me, an overhaul would be to take stock of all of the medical facilities that you have in Nairobi, that you equip them properly, that you remove whatever rot is there. If water is not running, you put water in the taps, you put the lights on, and that you make sure that whatever level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they are operating properly. And then you go to your largest referral hospital in the country, which is Kenyatta National Hospital, and you ensure that it is functioning properly. Don't spend new money on new projects. An overhaul means that what you currently have that's not functioning, what you currently have that is functioning suboptimally, you fix. I really wish we could get into this place whereby we sort out what is already there, because you'll find that you have some fantastic facilities that could actually operate very well. All they need is a boost. All they need is an overhaul. Do that for me. You see, we're looking for this applause. I would clap for you.
You see, when you
fix what's already spoiled instead of spending new money and splashing it on places whereby it's not going to yield any results beyond a flashy new building in February.
You see, we talk about fixing our healthcare facility, but you never ask the question, why in the first place are these healthcare facilities not performing as expected? Because you find here is a situation where people have been given jobs and they're not qualified for these jobs and they continue sitting there. Until that time when we fix the HR problem that we have, until that point when we deal with the cartels that we know who these people are, fixing these healthcare system and expecting that you'll get your flowers as rightfully so will be a tall order. We have to address the root cause of the problem for us to say our healthcare system is working. Because I would tell you for a fact, you'd walk into a healthcare facility today, it would take you hours and hours on a queue and not even get the service that you went there to look for.
Boss, what are you talking about? There's somebody I know today who needs a scan done. A scan. We've not even started treatment. She's walking around with I don't even tell you the medical condition, but needs a scan done. She cannot go get her scan until 2026. Do you understand what I'm saying? So these new hospitals that you said you're building, these new ICT beds, all these new things that you want to do, fix the current issue. Fix the current issue. Don't spend money on new projects. Make sure that the ones that you have are operating here. Then through all of that, tell me that people will not go and visit those hospitals or those medical facilities.
There's a reporter was sitting somewhere where a professional was saying Kenya does not need new facilities. Kenya needs the facilities it has today to work optimally, and we do not need to invest in brick and mortar. All we need is professionals to be hired, equipment to be there, and drugs to be there in supply. And we are sorted. But what do we do with KEMSA? What do we do to our doctors always on the streets? What do we do with the equipment that are gathering dust?
You want to keep it in the corner and pay for more. That's the problem. We've got a lot to do. Do it. Just do it. It's 7 a.m.
It is now 7 a.m. with ICEA Lion. Protect your today, securing your tomorrow.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leo Ubaga. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has advised the judiciary to gather the views of Kenyans to foster good relations between them and the public. Speaking in Nairobi, Murkomen said some decisions made by the judiciary are interpreted in a way that is not acceptable to the public, stressing the need to sensitize Kenyans to understand how the law works and how the judiciary operates. Murkomen has further called on the judiciary to ensure fairness when hearing and deciding corruption-related cases.
I want to dare the judiciary to hold only 1, 2, 3 public barazas in every county. You will be shocked, Chief Justice. I want you to take one day, call a big baraza in somewhere in Laikipia, and sit down and tell Wananchi, 1 to 1,000 people, just talk about judiciary here. You will be shocked about the feedback, and it will help you to make things better. You should not hide. The question of corruption is in all the sectors. There are magistrates who are corrupt, there are judges who are corrupt, there are police officers who are corrupt, there are prison officers who are corrupt, there are ministers who are corrupt, there are PSs who are corrupt, and we need to face it openly without hiding and defending our places.
Attorney General Dorcas Oduor, on her part, has reiterated the need for the judiciary to ensure fairness when hearing various cases. According to Oduor, it is the judiciary's responsibility to ensure that justice is easily accessible, especially to Kenyans from disadvantaged communities.
Justice is not an abstract ideal. It is the daily act of fairness, empathy, and service. When we make justice truly centered on people, it transforms from a system into a service, from an obligation into a covenant of trust. I dare remind us, justice is not measured in volumes of law, but in the humanity of its delivery. Justice means nothing if it does not protect the powerless. When we are here, we make decisions, but mostly we are making decisions about people who are not with us on the table. So how do you make sure that your participation protects the person who is not in the table?
And Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has urged youth to show maturity when using social media, warning that misuse of the networks could affect future job opportunities. Speaking in Eldoret, Mudavadi stressed the need for Kenyans to stop insulting leaders online, saying the practice may harm them in future.
Your digital footprint, good young people listening to me because this is your platform, is very important. It can either block your ascendancy to greater heights or it can become a big problem. Right now, when I speak to you, there are some nations that have now made it a requirement to examine your digital platform before you get a visa to travel. It's no longer fiction, it's the truth. I speak here because I also have children, and I owe it to you that discipline and integrity is what will take you higher.
Likewise, Mudavadi advised Kenyans visiting other nations to ensure they abide by their laws and constitutions instead of assuming that they are protected by the Kenyan constitution.
The moment you step beyond Kenya's borders, it's not the Constitution of Kenya that applies. You enter a sovereign state with different regulations and different laws. My prayer is that our young people, as they enjoy their freedom, please be cautious. It is absolutely important. We don't want to lose any Kenyan. We don't want to have any young life obstructed. So as you go out there, as we develop these skills, just bear in mind that there are some basic issues that we must not abandon.
And finally, Kenyan Teachers Union and the government have reached an agreement to move all tutors to the Social Health Authority medical scheme effective December 1st. And acting TSC Chief Executive Officer Evelyn Mitei announced that the transition will be effected through the Public Officers Medical Scheme Fund managed by SHA. However, teachers have warned that they'll not hesitate to criticize SHA if it doesn't maintain the quality health services that teachers have been receiving through the previous insurance.
Number of health facilities have also increased from 800 to 9,600 just at the beginning. So that means that the teachers will have access to more health facilities.
We are very keen
on what shall happen if things don't work well. I want to assure our members that this scheme has a very clear cancellation clause.
That's the Newswire. I'm Nyamweya Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who are initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't, let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary group meeting, people went there, sat, listened, looked at him, there was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing police of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You have land, Dennis. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. If you find the tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around. Why? Tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
He is himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo, ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So and we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
A very good morning to you, and you're coming into the Situation Room at 10 minutes after 7 on this 11th day of November 2025. Ndu, Okoh, and Dennis Aseto with you this morning. Our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Our audience on KTN continues to be with us, and those who listen around the country and indeed the region and the world. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room, where we comfort the afflicted and afflicts are comfortable having conversations that matter and that contribute towards national, regional, or global discourse. Thank you for being here every morning as you do. We're going to look into the counties in a little bit over this next hour. But before that, what's your plan, Aseto?
My plan? Utaka nikwambie?
Niambie plan yako. What's plan in Kiswahili? Mpango.
Mpango.
All right.
Mpango. In other jurisdictions, mpango is a name. Tanzania mpango.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you see, in Situation Room, we always talk about the future. And you talk about the future, it all depends on what you do today. So what's the plan that will take you to the future? And when we talk about that now, it is a question of some of the initiatives that you do put in place to ensure that you get there. Now, ICEA Lion is here to ensure that you you have a proper plan around your investment, around your insurance, so that everything else is backed up and safe for you. So ICEA helps you to grow your plan, and that you don't have to wait until it's late for you to take that decision. It has all been made possible because if you're planning the future, it is high time you plan today, and you plan today by ICEA Lion. That is asking you again, Ndu, what's your plan?
So no. Okay. For the future.
That dream that you have.
It can become reality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Proper healthcare. Insurance. Plan for it today.
Buy an island.
Yeah. Plan today. Where do you go to? ICEA Lion.
Thank you, please. Very much, Lee. We're going to be talking about the County Oversights Amendment Bill 2025, and we'll do that as we look into what senators are actually asking for. We'll talk about that and we'll get into that proper. And joining us this morning to then be able to have that conversation is Stella Agara, who is a governance and security analyst. We're looking into the County Funds Oversight Bill, guarding devolution or clipping its wings. Those are the questions that we're asking, and we'll get into this bill just a bit. Before we say welcome to Stella. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante, thank you for having me.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Many issues to discuss.
Lots.
And looking into just how they essentially shape future. Why it's important for us to have these conversations most times is because we pontificate a lot, right? We talk, we're glaring, and we're saying we politicize things. But when we look into the nitty-gritty of what things mean in terms of governance, sometimes we don't really know. So important for us to talk about these things and what they actually mean. We'll get into that in just a bit, but Dennis wants to welcome you.
Yes, we are in Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Do you know their currency? It's called a leon.
Yes, I know the leon. I've actually spent it before.
Sounds really nice, man. Leon, Kenya shillings. I'm just saying, it's a country that it is a country that is rich in diamonds, gold, bauxite, rutile, which is a titanium ore. So iPhone, manenos, titanium iko ndani. Just saying, coffee, cocoa, and fish. But let's go to the proverb. A single bangle does not jingle. How would you interpret that?
I'm reminded of a Bible verse that talks about a cord of 3 strands cannot be broken. So this is about one bangle being like one person cannot be able to do much, but if they join hands with other people of the same interest or who are probably of the same strengths or different strengths, but they join hands, they're able to achieve more. And I think it speaks to the ability to cause an impact, that you could cause an impact on your own, but when you have plenty of support from people with effort and access, then you'll be able to cause even higher impact. Yeah.
Reminds me of a country called Tanzania.
Oh, okay. We've heard of that place.
For a very long time, Awana Tundu Lissu has been fighting alone. But when the people decided, look at the impact.
The bangles started jingling.
The bangles started jingling. There it is. And there is it in fine form. All right, let's look into this a little bit, shall we? The bill is being sponsored in the Senate. This particular bill is the County Oversight Bill 2025. It's being sponsored in the Senate by Ledama Olekina, who is the Narok senator. He aims to create a statutory framework for enhanced oversight over county governments. So the job that they have been doing already, they want to essentially ramp it up a bit and say, we need to do better. Basically using this bill to admit that they can do better with what they have. However, they need a little bit more to do this. And they're saying in response to concerns around devolved governance, issues of accountability, irregularities in county spending, fragmented bank accounts, lack of transparency in use of public funds at county level. So they've seen that these are the issues and they need an enhanced framework to essentially be able to deliver on the oversight role. So they've accepted that there are issues.
Yes.
So it emerges in a wider context of reforms over other related bills. There has been the county government laws. There have been, of course, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2025 proposes changes to oversight, legislative, budgetary, and institutional architecture of counties. So what are some of the key provisions here before we now go into this conversation? It wants to give the Senate direct oversight over county government's revenue allocation, use, and management. You spend, we ask. You have to answer. They want to provide mechanisms for senators to interrogate county expenditure. We should be able to ask you, you got 500 million shillings, what did you do with it? And you then must be compelled to answer. They want to monitor county bank accounts. Remember how we are told that one county has 287 accounts, kind of thing. And they want to be able to audit county performance. What have you've said you've done? Let's have a look at truly if you've done it. They also want to strengthen public participation and ensure that counties comply with constitutional and statutory obligations. And finally, align county oversight with national frameworks for public finance, possibly tying into reforms around county public finance laws. So they want to ramp up the thing. But in order to do that, they've said, you know what, we want Senate offices in each county. And we need some money to then be able to do this. What are your thoughts about this bill? Sounds like it makes sense to me that they want to enhance their role.
I think my first thoughts are that on the surface, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because we definitely know that there was a bit of regulation that needed to happen on county spending, but number two, oversight was not happening as well as it should have. One of the situations that Senate has found itself in is the fact that they can only oversight expenditure after it has happened. So by the time they're asking questions about things that have already happened. If there are fictitious bank accounts or too many bank accounts, it's something they're discovering after expenditure has happened. And I've also noted that the bill itself also makes provisions about standards of construction of public participation facilities. Basically the costing of that kind of infrastructure. And one of the things I'm thinking of is the fact that if you go to different counties, what they call a hall may not necessarily be a uniform facility, even though it is funded by the same government. And so for me, in terms of that, I think there's a way this bill may actually come out to assist in transforming the decisions of the county executive committees on what then is infrastructure for public participation. How is it supposed to look? What do they need in that space so that they can determine that public participation is actually guaranteed? But it will also provide an opportunity for the Senate to have oversight. I do not know, though, why the Senate would like to exercise oversight over every transaction, every expenditure from the county, and therefore demand to have an office on the ground. The oversight role of the Senate is actually a policy oversight role, and to defend the interests of the county when it comes to allocation of funds, as provided in subsection 3 of Article 96. Why they would want to be on the ground to start monitoring the expenditure of those funds and add on to the already existing bill of governance on the ground is something I'm still questioning until now.
It I'm just raising some of the concerns here around this bill. According, the bill is in consideration, rather, I beg your pardon, that in some county governors and county governments fear that the bill undermines devolved government autonomy and re-centralizes control in the Senate or national level. Do you think that that would be a risk? That what we're saying is that if you need to answer back to a head principle, as it were, in this case the Senate, then do you not claw back on the gains that devolution had made in the beginning?
I actually agree with the sentiments from most of the counties. I was trying to first of all just speak about what I think would be valuable out of this bill. But then I totally agree that this is taking power from the counties. Devolution was about taking power to the people. It was about ensuring that the people have more access to the decisions about funds for development that come to them, but also about how their counties are governed. And so once you take the decision-making power to the counties, once you take the resources to the county, and then you again insert a national representative to come and oversight and as you call them, the principle over the spending, then one of the things that you're taking that decision making from the people and putting it back in the hands of elected individuals who have very clear roles defined in Article 96 of the Constitution. So even attempting to assert the need to be able to review expenditure, review what kind of infrastructure, I think those are decisions that should be made by the County Executive Committee in consultation with the citizens of their area. If there's any standardization that needs to be done, I think the government has other mechanisms of determining what standards, for example, of infrastructure they'd want to see in the country, whether it's a hospital, a hall, whatever it is. It's something that can be done without the senator having to be in the county, without having a budget to run an entire office, and without the senator, again, having to now intervene in every single transaction that is being done by the county.
I mean, if you look at the bill as is proposed, the governors are concerned because of the overreach, because there is fear that if you just look at politics as is, many senators want to become governors. And governors are wary that if I cede power to be overseen by an individual who would be my opponent, this person might make it difficult for me to achieve. And it's a concern out there. And one would say there is also the fact that Senate already knows what they're supposed to do. If it's oversight, the Senate can do its oversight. Is this therefore an admission by the senators themselves that we have been unable to do our job, that we need assistance in a way?
Let me start with the conversation about politics. And the aspect of politics I was thinking of first is the fact that the way our politics works is that if anybody is in the line of transaction, it means there are more mouths that are going to be feeding from our coffers. And so when the senator comes in, and everybody that is going to be employed in whatever that senator's office is going to be, will also be a part of the consumers from the gravy train. And so for me, just by virtue of that, before we even sort out the bad manners in our system, I think that creates a huge problem for the taxpayer. Number two is the competition. And I agree with governors when they have hesitation, because once you have this person on the ground, they can actually spend their entire lifetime fighting you because they're monitoring every expenditure every day, and they're able to get the details of information that they will use on campaign against you, that they're going to constantly use to get the citizens to fight the projects that you're doing. And so it becomes a bit difficult for even a governor to consolidate the county and the citizens of the county around a project when the senator has really started making noise about whether that project is valuable or not. I believe also from a politics perspective that if the senator is constantly on the ground speaking to the people, how certain are we that the senator is going to be addressing the needs of the people and not necessarily addressing their personal needs to access tenders and give them to their friends and you know, all those kinds of things. I think for a country that has understood its people, has understood the fact that we have not yet cracked the integrity question, we don't want to keep creating layers that are going to provide opportunities for mischief in our transactions. Does the county, does the Senate have a responsibility to do oversight? Yes. But oversight does not require you to be living in the county and having a full-on office so that you can be checking every day. As a matter of fact, if they were negotiating, for example, to have maybe increased budgets to be able to go and check more frequently in the course of a year before the time comes for reporting, that would be different. But when you start saying you want to sit in the county, they're basically saying fund our political campaigns free of charge, create a space for us to be sitting and consolidating our numbers, and then let's see what we're going to do around the governors. But I think we must first of all address the issue of overreach, but most importantly note where the mischief is hidden, because there's definitely something that they're up to with this.
Because you see, we talk about the public participation question in the county that is not clearly well defined. But if you look at the Constitution of Kenya and what public participation is, one would say we just borrow from the supreme law of the land, and that all that is needed is a guidance, a policy, and not an entire new bill that would determine how that is being done. One would say this is a way, first of all, to slow governance from achieving what it is they want to achieve, because there, like you've said, there is a sinister motive behind it that we need to sit back and see what is not being said. Because public participation, the Constitution talks about it. We talk about oversight. The Senate already does it. Why do we need a new bill to handle all these issues?
And I'm glad you're asking that question, Dennis. One of the things I noted about this bill is the fact that it's talking about the county either building new facilities for public participation or upgrading existing facilities for public participation or improving or providing certain resources for existing public participation facilities. And the question I kept asking myself is, do you need an entire governance system to determine in a county that we have a hall that can be used for public participation, but it doesn't have sufficient toilets, so let us build toilets in it. That we have a hall, but it already has cracks on the wall, so we need to repair it for the safety of individuals. That we have a huge hall that accommodates 1,000 people, but then we don't have spaces that would accommodate 200 people, and therefore we need to create breakout rooms in this hall. I don't think it requires an entire conference to figure out those kinds of things. That's number one. Number two, anybody who has been assessing the problems of public participation in Kenya knows it has got nothing to do with halls. It has got nothing to do with infrastructure. Definitely, some spaces that have been used for public participation have been a bit intimidating for citizens. But as soon as it is announced that those will be the spaces for public participation, like social halls, public gathering spaces, even churches, people will go for public participation in those places without intimidation. So it's a different question that should be addressed when discussing public participation. That question is, how accessible is information to the citizens? How do you announce that a public participation event is taking place? How do you make access to that facility easy, either by having a facility that is central to the county or devolving the exercise of public participation even further to the ground so that everybody gets access to that opportunity? And then how do you make the hours, days that you have given for public participation meaningful, so that when you get feedback from the citizens, you do not then go and do what you want after they have told you what they do not want to see happening in public participation? I think, and I know it's a political scheme, that most of the times when politicians want to pass their own things, they actually hide in there things that look like they benefit the citizens so that they can be able to pass the mischief. There is no reason why public participation should be framed, or rather the efficiency and effectiveness of public participation should be framed within a bill where the Senate is demanding to get more powers on oversight and to reach the counties and as we call it, principal the governor. I think having the public participation components on this particular bill was just mischief and a way of getting the citizens to think that this is a good thing and ignore what exactly they are trying to do.
Okay, as we do this, I realize that we talk about them all the time, members of parliament, MCA, senator, governor, etc., without realizing what their actual roles are. If you were to call 3 random people and ask them, what's a senator's job? They may not know. So Stella, what is a senator meant to do?
I'm glad you're asking. Because I know that not many people have taken time to actually read Article 96 of the Constitution of Kenya that talks about the role of the Senate. One of the reasons why the Senate exists is so that they can be able to represent the counties and serve their interests, not just serve and protect their interests in the national government.
Not their own interests, but
not
the
their own
interests
of the counties.
Right.
In the national conversations about the counties, and of course to protect their governments. So basically ensuring that these kinds of games where the government starts feeling like they may want to take back some of the power that the counties was given does not happen because the senator exists. The second one has got to do with participating in lawmaking and reviewing every single law that is developed that has to do with the counties. So if the National Assembly decides that they need to legislate on anything to do with the counties, then the Senate has to review any of those laws. And the Senate also has a mandate to ensure that they are checking that they all serve the interests of the county, and that they contribute more towards safeguarding and establishing the counties than dismantling and destroying the interests of those counties. The Senate also determines the allocation of funds for the counties, and then it exercises oversight over the funds that have come from the national government going to the county. So basically, their oversight is supposed to be on national funds coming from the national government to the county. On the funds that have been raised by the county and are supposed to be spent in the county, they exercise a different role, ensuring financial fiduciary responsibility, etc. But there's a way that oversight is done after spending, not by policing, principling, head teaching the kind of expenditure that happens. Finally, the Senate participates in oversight of the state officers by considering and determining any resolutions to remove the president or the deputy president. This one I think Kenyans have already seen now, considering the process that we observed with the impeachment of Rigiji. And of course, they have also observed how the Senate has actually played their role in reviewing the decisions by the county executive committees or the county's citizens to impeach their own governors. So the decision eventually still has to come to the Senate, not as a decision maker on whether or not this person needs to be impeached, but on the propriety of the process that was used to impeach the officer. Most of the laws that they oversight over, or the lawmaking policies that they oversight over, are most of the laws that are defined in Article 109 to Article 113 of our Constitution, that covers basically the legislative process of this nation.
Do you think that the Senate role in the last 14 years of devolution has been effective and has actually fulfilled the requirements of the Constitution?
I think the first thing I will say is that the Senate has successfully managed to attract some very good brains, which is what should have happened with the Senate, especially because a lot of the work they were going to be doing was at a policy level, legislative level, and all of it was analysis work that requires brains that actually understand what is going on, brains that have understood governance, and brains that are able to think on their feet as they execute, because a lot of the changes that were happening in the counties were new ideas. On whether or not they were able to exercise their role on policy making, I think they've made quite a lot of noise on devolved funds. I think they've made quite a lot of noise on protecting the counties. What I don't think they've done well is when, for example, opportunities to caucus on and agree on some of the limitations that have been put on county funds before, and then the politics takes over, and their mind ceases to think about the counties. In terms of oversight, I have seen what the oversight looks like. One of the images that comes to my mind, actually not one, several images that come to my mind as far as not public participation but oversight is concerned, is the counties that are in northeastern part of Kenya, and the number of times I have seen struggles on the ground when they need to engage in oversight. They practically visit the county. The people they're supposed to see are not present to answer their questions, and when they are present, they're not getting the answers that they need. That is not just happening when they go to the ground. I'm talking about the ones in the northeastern part of this nation, because they are very far from the center. And of course, when the further the senator goes, the more the per diems and all those, so the more the expenditure. And for them to go all that way and not to come back with answers, for me, is normally problematic. Then there's also the times when, for example, they're dealing with a governor here in Nairobi who refuses to answer questions, and it almost feels like they're toothless, getting frustrated, yelling at each other.
Aren't they though? Because and I can bounce off of that because said governor would not show up for Senate proceedings under the at the committee level and pay the fine. And I remember very clearly the senator for Nairobi bringing up an issue on this matter and saying, we ask you to come here and give us this information so that we can inform the people of the progress that has been made. You don't come and all you do is pay a fine, which is easy for you. It's 500,000 bob, flash in the pan for you, not an issue. So they ask, but they're frustrated. How do you safeguard against things like that? Because a governor may come pay a fine because they failed to appear, and if they pay the fine, you're left without the answers still.
Legislation sometimes can enable bad manners. And I think when regulations indicate that you're going to pay a fine of 500,000 for a human who controls billions, it's and they don't have to get the 500,000 from their personal pockets, it becomes something that they can do every day, because the county is able to finance 500,000 per day for a whole year if he wants to avoid appearing for questioning. And so for me, part of it is actually the regulations that are put in place. I think the drafters of those regulations put that deliberately. Number one, to protect the interests of the governors in the future who are going to miss those sessions, and ensure that then they protect them. I want us to imagine the possibility of a law that would say, if a governor misses to attend a summon by the Senate, that they would have to immediately relinquish their seat. Do you think there's any governor who would miss to attend those sessions?
No.
We have made the laws very permissive, and so it becomes easy for them to actually try to avoid sessions where they have difficult questions to answer, or for them to actually create mischief around their participation in these spaces. The other thing that I have observed around this public participation is that some individuals who appear before the Senate think they are larger than life. And so even how they answer questions to the Senate, even how they speak to them, and mostly how they feel that they're larger than life is because outside of the National Assembly and the Senate, they have power to influence the executive, and so when they get into that space, they really don't care whether they're answering the questions as the citizens need them to respond. They really don't care whether they're providing information. As far as they're concerned, they are more interested in playing games. Do the Senate rules allow for that kind of mischief to be addressed within the timeframes that are normally provided? I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done to sharpen the questions that are normally asked, even by the senators. When I say that the Senate has attracted some brilliant members, it doesn't mean that everybody in the room normally asks the right questions. But I think when voters in Kenya are choosing senators, they must actually ensure that the person they're choosing is someone who has an ability to do an analysis at that level, and not just someone who has been implementing projects. The thing with our campaign mechanisms is that what we normally do is that we get the person who has made organized enough meetings to hand over things, flower, lessons for women, t-shirts and all those things. Unfortunately, the person giving you t-shirts may not have the ability to read any legislation coming from the National Assembly and provide valuable input. So he's going to be sitting in the Senate because he provided footballs and has organized many tournaments in the area, but is completely unable to review legislation that is going to determine how the players from that football pitch are going to get to the national representation, for example. And I think that is something that voters must actually think about in order to make the Senate efficient. Have they tried in all ways possible to influence the decisions of the national government concerning the counties, and to ensure that at least the county governments are protected. I think they've done the best that they could. I also noticed that they had a hangover of the previous system, especially because most of them were MPs before they became senators. And so they were used to having an envelope in the name of CDF. Then all of a sudden they arrive there and CDF is not available, and they're not sure they want to continue operating without a budget. And most of them are not comfortable with a job that will require them to be seated in Nairobi for a long period of time, walking into the assembly and actually just focusing on lawmaking processes and legislation. And so for me, I think dealing with that hangover, accepting that once you're in the Senate, your role is fundamentally different from the role of the MP and the role of the governor, and steering clear of trying to manipulate or control the county government like puppets is something that really must be discussed.
I reckon that we all know what we need to do. You know, because if we just sat down to read the law, everything is clear. Even when it comes to dealing with the oversight of the counties, I'd say 14 years of devolution in the country today, we know how each country has been operating. We have history that will determine how we look at each and every county moving forward. So it is just that the crop of, I'd say, those who are in the Senate today do not want to do the difficult job of looking at, say, Nairobi County. How many governors have we had? How did they operate? What was their problems? And how do we seal the loopholes? If you do that for all the 47 counties, then you have a blueprint on what it is you need to do. It is just that people want to go the easy way, cut shortcuts, get to the end tape and say, I did my job. But the purpose of a senator, one would say, is greater, because remember, you are representing an entire county. How then are we having a discussion with, say, senators having the MCAs as their best friends who feed them with information, hence making them know how well my county is doing and how best I can approach these issues. You know, you talk about Nairobi, and Nairobi's governor is not showing up. How is the senator communicating with the MCAs to ensure that oversight essentially starts from the county assembly, so that by the time it gets to the Senate, some tough job already had happened at the county assembly. We're not having all these discussions. We want to come with a new legislation that will make it easier for us to have a beautiful corner office somewhere with employees, so that we can walk in as we wish, so that our presence is felt at the county. One would say it is not really about Mwananchi. It's about how we will cut deals.
The only thing about Mwananchi in that whole affair is the number of chairs that we will put outside for Mwananchi to queue on. But majority of it has got to do with self-preservation and ensuring that the self-preservation is at the cost of the taxpayer. As you're speaking about, for example, the senator engaging with the MCAs, you do realize that our country invested a lot of funds in enabling the technology for participation online in meetings during the year of the pandemic. When you see the amounts of money we invested in those facilities, then you would know that a senator does not need to go to the county to meet the MCAs. They can have a Zoom meeting, have a conversation about one project or the other. Zoom meetings can be held anywhere. I don't think that all the MCAs are busy all the time, and so they don't have an opportunity to be able to have a Zoom meeting. Phone conversations. I think you've heard the Nairobi senator saying severally that he speaks to the representatives of ODM all over the country on the phone, and he knows them. Having a conversation with them alone determines that he is informed about what is happening on the ground, and he keeps on speaking about what is happening to them, and he has never been contradicted by most of the members of the party. So if you're able to make phone calls and get information from the people, what is so difficult in reaching out to the MCAs and saying, I want to have a conversation about the construction of this road? What is the progress so far? Who received
who's the contractor?
Who's the contractor? How much is being spent on it? How far is the work, you know? And working with them to even agree on what the standards are of performance, so that at that point, anytime when you come back and you're checking and this is not working, then you're able to reach out to the governor and say, maybe we need to check what's going on with this before it causes us trouble as a county with the Senate. But apart from, and that's what I'm saying, the relationship is supposed to be complementary. It's not that the senator is a policeman watching over the governor and making sure that the governor gets 2 canes every time something goes wrong. It's actually the ability to actually sit down with the governor and get the governor to understand that we are not supposed to be having these kinds of loopholes in our spending. Let us agree that as a county we are going to fulfill these requirements that are already in law. And if you didn't know, this is what this law says about this.
Isn't it worrying that we should have a conversation again about let's agree to abide by the law? It sounds like something that should be very clear. This is the law, you follow the law, or you ship out. It's very clear. But that here it's almost as though we need to massage the donkey down the hill. That please follow the law, let's have a conversation, you come do this, come do the other thing. So that's one thought that perhaps we need to talk about a little bit. But then also, the part of this bill that requires senators then to have offices in each county to then come and do, to me, it's an added waste of resources because in the time, remember, Stella, everybody wants us to go first world. In the time in which we are operating, that you have to stand up from wherever it is that you're operating, go sit, a committee, sit physically, have a conversation and say, you had 100 million shillings. You did not spend 25 million according to a receipted requirement. That needs a sit-down meeting where then you'll have to pay this person 50,000 shillings a day for their upkeep and then fly them all around, all over the place. It seems counterproductive in terms of what we're actually in terms of what the Senate was originally established to do.
On my way here, one of my biggest frustrations on that ride was thinking through the fact that we constantly have to remind people to obey the law.
I mean,
I was getting extremely frustrated that because as I was reviewing this bill, one of the things I saw is that there's a possibility this thing may actually be challenged in court and may not even see the light of day. And I kept thinking to myself, the cost of it, publishing it, public participation, discussion at the Senate, all those things, only for us to go to court and be told, man, all this time we invested in this, it was actually unconstitutional, you know? And so for me, it's problematic, and it's extremely problematic when that conversation is being held with people who are sitting in the Senate. Like I said, the Senate is supposed to be attracting very elite minds of people who are able, when I say elite, I don't mean like you know, people who do not know what the people on the ground are going through, but people who have elite minds in terms of understanding of governance, you know, so that they don't actually need to go to the ground to be able to get answers on what is happening. Now, having that office on the ground, how many offices did Morara Kebaso have on the ground to be able to show us the number of roads that are not completed, the number of hospitals that are not completed, the number of schools that were built and left hanging? How many offices did he need in the counties? The man was practically a single human who eventually got a few other people to operate around him, and he was just moving around the country on the day he gets an opportunity. Now, these senators, there's one for each county. So if he needs to check all the roads in the county on a day, there are people he can actually call and tell them to check. Do you know that MCAs actually want the roads in their constituencies to be paved? So if you ask the MCA to send you a picture of the status of the road, even if he doesn't have one, he will drive to that spot and take a picture for you and send it to you so that at least you can go and defend their interest in getting that road constructed. What does a senator need an office on the ground for? Is it that these people have not realized that they have taxed Kenyans so much that there's nothing more that is left to take from Kenyans, and they need to seriously ensure that the resources available are used in a responsible way to offer governance? If you set up an office, like I was saying at the beginning of this conversation, it means you have to hire staff. It means those staff have to be on the payroll, you know? It means those staff also have to be on the pension fund, which is very costly. It means that their daily operations have to be funded. You have mentioned sitting allowances for the meetings. It's not just sitting allowances. The cost of a government cup of tea and samosa is phenomenal. And so the number of meetings the senator is going to be holding especially if they're equal to the number of meetings the governor is holding. The question you must ask yourself is, why are we having those two parallel meetings? If there's one person to make consideration of what spending should be, just streamline the discussion that the governor is having about spending, ensure that the CECs are exercising their role in terms of determining how that spending is done, and then leave that assignment to them and exercise oversight at your level.
Yeah.
Do you want more frequent oversight? Then demand more frequent reports.
Okay, so you mentioned the need to then have elite minds in the Senate specifically. And we're not talking about the bourgeois here.
No.
We're talking about, for lack of somebody who has gone to school and has depth of analysis.
Has gone to school, has had access to our governance system for a while. They know how they should work. They have seen where it has failed before and have been able to contribute, especially if they've been able to contribute to resolving some of the areas where our governance was not working. Then those are the people you want to have in the room.
So not an erstwhile politician. That's what not what you're looking for at the Senate.
Not a sports tournament, leso unga kind of politician. People who you see on the ground giving handouts and saying, I'm going to come back and give you pads, and that's it. We're talking about people who actually understand. When you sit down with them, they are troubled by how things function, and they are constantly asking, how do we improve this? Those are the people to have in the Senate. If you observe the conversations in the Senate, and I'm not trying to be rude here, you will discover that even the Speaker knows the people who are going to advance the conversation and gives them more time to speak compared to others. Don't punish your county by voting for an individual who will not be able to convince the speaker that if they stand on the floor, they're going to make progress in the conversation. Is your senator one of those people who, when he walks into that space, he's able to advance a conversation, able to make contributions that then will advance a conversation? Then that is the kind of person you're supposed to be electing to the Senate. The person you're electing to the Senate is not going to be doing cleanups on the ground. They are not going to be the ones monitoring whether or not there are enough market stalls. They are going to be ensuring that you have resources to actually make a decision to build market stalls. That's it. But then it's a decision you have to make first at the point of voting, and then at the point of monitoring what your senator is doing. If he's not serving the interests of the county, by the way, even before you recall them, you are able to call them out and demand that they represent the county better. What have you heard your senator saying that is actually going against what your county needs? Have you seen your senator, for example, not defending your interests, for example, and especially in counties like Turkana, you've seen where they're having struggles about the oil in Turkana. What is your senator saying about that oil? Are they siding with the national government because they're friends with the president, or are they speaking on behalf of the county? You know, and I believe we have legislations on intergovernmental relations that provide the mechanism for intergovernmental relations at all levels. There is also no regulation preventing the senator from speaking to the governor on a daily basis if he must, to get updates on things. There are no regulations preventing the senator from speaking to the MCAs on a daily basis to know what is happening. As a matter of fact, the senator can actually make friends with the CECs so that this is not something they need to wait until the spending has been done. But they get an update of what's happening. If politicians can make friends with returning officers and buy them a cup of coffee every single month just so that they can maintain friendship by the time the elections is coming, what is so difficult in maintaining a similar relationship with an MCA or a CEC?
I mean, I reckon that we all know what we need to do. First of all, read the law, understand the law, and implement the law. Where the law is deficient in some areas, we just need to improve on the law and put in place policies that are needed. Because one would say, the far-flung counties, the northeasterns, the Turkanas, where one would say, the place is far, we just need to drive there. But remember, when one Rigathi Gachagua was being impeached, we saw how that public participation happened across the country. One would say, those places do not have networks and internet and whatnot, that these people are not able to connect. How about, instead of building that office that you're talking about across the 47 counties, you focused on all these counties, put up masts to ensure that this part of the country has sufficient connectivity so that when you talk about public participation that is online, everyone, including in Turkana, the Marsabits, are able to connect and participate online. All that we need to do as a country is to come up with a policy on civic education to ensure that each and every single Kenyan is part of the conversation. But that is not what we want to do, because there is fear that mjinga kierevuka, mwerevu yu mashakani. And perhaps that is why this conversation will never be about mwananchi, but about what we want to do so that our might is seen and felt at the ground.
Dennis, you remind me of this young girl, and I wish I could remember her name right now. I am so embarrassed that it's not coming, who was abducted because she found a mechanism for
Njeri.
citizens in Njeri.
Joe Rose and Njeri.
You know,
Yeah.
to provide their feedback online on legislation that was being discussed in the assembly. And to think that girl was arrested for such a noble cause, then it tells you why nobody is bothered about thinking about bringing that voice through available technology to the core. Instead, they're thinking of moving from the core and going down to the ground and setting up another
and
office
mortar.
and another budget. And so for me, it's one of the conclusions I made this morning when I woke up is that some of these people just need to finish and go, because their hunger for opportunities to eat, their hunger for opportunities to feed, their hunger for opportunities to abuse the resources of the citizens of Kenya is becoming untenable, and they just need to leave. It is not difficult to figure out how to have public participation and broadcast it. It happened when we were impeaching Rigiji. And so it means it is possible to do it in all other circumstances. But when impeaching Rigiji, somebody somewhere wanted to demonstrate that they had public participation. And so they made sure that was seen. That person, why is it that they don't do the same when we are talking about investments on health facilities? Why is it that they don't use the same resources when you're talking about checking whether a hospital actually exists? Because the voices they got on camera can also confirm to them if the hospital that is receiving SHA is functioning. Why don't they invest their energy in ensuring that the conversation about public participation is broadcasted in the same way about everything? In fact, why not make it a standard that broadcasting happens? For me, it's going to create jobs for the youth that I work for. It's going to provide an opportunity for them to actually come in and be vlogging. Most of these young people don't need very technical equipment to be able to provide that kind of a service. Some of them don't even need you to hire them. As long as they're in the room, they will make sure that they cover the event if you allow them. Why are they not being made public? You know, we are providing old school solutions to current problems and hoping that we are going to resolve the governance problems that we have. Unfortunately, the people we are working with long moved on from meetings in social halls. If you give them an opportunity to feedback on a tool online,
where they are,
you get an influx of feedback.
Absolutely.
You know? And our senators want to be lazy, our MPs want to be lazy, and they're thinking if the feedback is too much, they're not going to skim through it.
They don't want to, they already are.
It's just pure laziness, because if the data is too much, you can get people who are able to analyze that data, provide it in reports, and then you review and you can see what Kenyans have said. If Kenyans repeat severally that they do not want SHA in one report, you will not need to write that 10 million times. You will just write it once, that the summary is that this is the ratio of people who have said they don't want SHA. Because they don't want to work, they would rather set up offices and claim they're going to the ground. Again, I will ask, how many offices in the counties did Morara Kebaso have for him to be able to give Kenyans the information he had? All he had was technology, the will to travel, and a budget to get there. I don't even think he used the exorbitant budgets that our senators, for example, would use if they set up an office. And so for me, honestly, there's mischief in this entire conversation, and combining it with public participation and claiming to be trying to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of public participation is actually the top of the mischief. The devil is actually in that particular detail.
Okay, so I know our minutes are running out, but just really quickly, is that every day, literally every day for the last few months, we've been seeing what the Auditor General termed as discrepancies in her audit report, and a lot of these came from counties, and also at the national level in terms of billions of shillings that just are unexplained, unreceipted, unconstitutional in terms of their display in what should actually happen. And again, to then be able to interrogate this more, she often always says that I now leave it in the hands of Parliament, which for the Senate holds a huge responsibility when it comes to looking into these numbers. Stella, never, ever have we once had an interrogation leading to prosecution coming from the queries in audit from the Auditor General. Never in the history of Kenya. In the history of Kenya. It's never happened. Would you see that as a failure? What needs to be done to ensure that something like that, with the hundreds of billions over time that we have seen that unexplained, lost, taken, mismanaged, stolen, misappropriated, somebody can actually answer for those things if the Senate was operating as it should.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. It happens to be one of the things I'd forgotten, very important things I'd forgotten to mention in this conversation. The Office of the Auditor General is also another space that has attracted some very quality women, I say confidently women, to be able to lead that office. It seems to me that the government of Kenya, successive governments of Kenya, are not afraid of an Auditor General's office reporting truthfully about the mischief. As a matter of fact, they don't even mind us having a record. Their problem, as you have eloquently elaborated, is with pushing the Auditor General's report towards a level where someone is held accountable for the funds that are lost. Now, does the Senate need to go all the way to the ground to be able to check that money was not spent for this or money is missing for this? They don't need to go. That is something they can actually figure out from that Auditor General's report and start asking questions from that point onwards. If then they get a discrepancy in terms of the reports on the quality of work done or not, then maybe they can ask for, other reports from the ground. Then we'll be able to give them more information to make decisions about the county. The fact that nobody has ever been able to even receive any punitive action against them goes back to the question of permissiveness of our laws that I was talking about. That the laws are too permissive, number one, that they allow for that kind of an investigation to happen and for a report to sit on a table and nobody does anything about it. That's why I was saying, if you made sure that a governor missing a summon by the Senate will have to relinquish their seat immediately, they would travel from wherever they are and make sure that they attend that session. They will make sure that they're maintaining the calendar and keeping it right in front of them on the whiteboard or whatever color of board they have in their office, But because they can pay simple fines and get away with it, that is why they continue to do what they do. If the government is not afraid of quality reports from the Auditor General, but they have made sure that those reports will result in nothing, you then understand why most of these people will continue doing what they do. They will continue embezzling funds from the county, knowing that the report will be announced. Kenyans will make noise for a few days, and then it will be forgotten. Senate has a responsibility to ensure that the Auditor General's reports are implemented as far as the counties are concerned. If not for all counties, at least every senator should be questioning what will be done about their own county and be part of the process. If truly they want to play politics, be part of the process of recommending that the governor of their county is incompetent and probably should be impeached. It would be very helpful if they would have those conversations. But because there are a huge cartel of people who are serving their own interests, you will see these reports coming out, quality reports, and no action is taken.
It's taken. Necessary for us to have these conversations because then the people must know. If those on the other side who are in the minority will not do their job, the people must know. Stella Agara, thank you for being here with us this morning to have this conversation. Necessary for us to keep poking this particular bear. Stella Agara, governance and security analyst, joined us this morning. It's 8:02. More conversations after this. Good morning.
It is now 8 a.m. with ICEA Lion. It is time to plan ahead with ICEA Lion. What's your plan?
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Primary school head teachers have strongly opposed a proposal by junior secondary school teachers to transfer the management of junior secondary institutions from primary to senior secondary schools. Speaking during the Kenya Primary School Heads Association annual conference in Mombasa, attended by over 15,000 head teachers, Kepsha National Chairman Faud Ali reaffirmed that the decision to domicile JSS within primary schools was reached through the presidential Working Party on education reform with input from all key stakeholders.
uhuru uko na usimamizi wa hizi shule ambazo kwa sasa tunaziita comprehensive schools. Ndio maana tunasema badala ya kujiita Kenya Primary School Heads Association, sasa tunajiita Kenya Comprehensive School Head Teachers Association, tukijumuisha comprehensive school yote, na hakuna matatizo yoyote.
Ali further defended the arrangement, noting that the ongoing implementation of grade 9 assessments has proceeded smoothly under the current management.
Kama kungekuwa na shida, tusingeweza hata kufanya hii tathmini ya grade 9 ambayo imefanyika. Mambo yameenda shwari, usimamizi uko sawa. Kisisi kama Keksha hakuna tatizo lolote.
And moving on, as the effects of floods continue to be witnessed in Nyamweya County and various parts of the country, environmentalist Kennedy Baroka has advised the government to use a new flood control method known as terraforming. According to Baroka, the method offers the opportunity to create elevations in areas prone to frequent floods. The environmentalist adds that terraforming technology is not only a solution to floods but can also contribute to environmental conservation and social development.
It's devastating that floods have affected most part of Kenya, and especially Elgeyo Marakwet and Nyamweya. This is a disaster. We have been emphasizing that this initiative known as terraforming actually can help to be safe. Terraforming is just reshaping the land. We make that land to be a bit hilly and improve on drainage system, use some bioengineering techniques, afforestation. Then we make that land to act like a sponge so that when the water comes, there is no need for them to shift to higher grounds.
Regarding the coastal countries that have used the technology to control, Baroka has made the following statement.
Yeah, actually the cost of terraforming is quite expensive, but you cannot actually compare the expenses with the life. Even if that cost could save one life in Elgeyo Marakwet, or people are not going to be displaced here in Manjalala, then it's worth it, because I don't think if there is any amount that can save a life. This practice has been proven in Nepal, China, Colombia, and some places here in Tana Delta in Kenya. They have started using the terraforming concept, which lives are now being saved and property at the same time.
According to the Red Cross, about 3,490 families in Nyamweya County have been affected by the floods. That's the news wire. I'm Leo Baga, and remember to continue enjoying the EPL marches across the radio stations. That is Berur, Radio Maisha, and right here on SpiceFM.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You have land, Dennis. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. This is it. If you find the tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around. Why? Tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. SpiceFM, Nairobi.
All right, good morning. At 8 minutes after 8, getting into conversations today, this Tuesday. We're going to look into the education one right now. And I know I breathe out and I sigh already because tayari nawaka moto bwana. But we'll have a look into it because it's necessary that we do what exactly is going on. We'll talk to you about that just shortly. But in all of this, as you go into your life, planning for the week, the month, the year, you must have a plan. Yeah. Nespa?
Yes, and you can imagine it's over the weekend, safiri. I can imagine your escapades. You're just seated somewhere enjoying your nyama choma or your lasagna, the only food with a useless G, lasagna, and at that point you just hear someone saying, I'm planning for my investment, I'm planning for my retirement, I'm planning to pay fees here and there. And right there, it strikes you, me as Ndu, me as Aseto, actually, what's my plan?
Nyama ikisha,
what next? And it is at that point where you realize you need a partner who's going to make it easier for you. So ICEA steps in to ensure that this plan that you have becomes a reality. And how are they doing that? By first telling you that it's never too late and not too early for you to start. So even when you've delayed Ndu, when you hear someone is driving, what is your favorite car?
Just
say it one.
Range Rover.
You see that Range Rover Sport house. That Range Rover house that you want. Imagine your friend has it. And you're like, this is my plan. ICEA is here to tell you it is not late for you to start dreaming and having that plan. That Range Rover house is just next door. All you need to do is come up with your plan. So you talk about insurance, investment options that help you grow, protect, and plan with confidence. ICEA is here to help you come up with the plan, secure it today, and build your tomorrow. Because again, what's your plan to have a great investment? Who is your partner? ICEA, Lion.
Bas. You don't need much more, do you?
No.
All right, and that's how we get into it this morning, because I guess that will be the question that we're asking today in terms of what is the plan for grade 9s who get into grade 10 in January 2026. And as we go into pathways, first time ever in this new curriculum. But those are the conversations that we have this morning. And joining us for these conversations as we do this morning, Okoh Milemba is a chairperson of the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers. He's here this morning. Good morning, Bwana Milemba.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Karibu sana. Yeah. Mwalimu Peter Mungai is an education advocate and researcher at Kewata. He's here with us this morning as well. Mwalimu, good morning.
I'm fine, thank you.
You're well?
I'm doing well.
Karibu sana. Thank you both for being here. Our minutes are few to talk about this that is extremely important. So we'll do the best that we can with it, but necessary for us to, how you say something is cooking and then you put it on the back burner, kuiva. This one we can't afford to put on the back burner. It must be on the biggest burner right now, hot, front and center. And so that's what we're doing this morning. But before we do that, Dennis Aseto has a word for you.
Yes, and the word today comes from a country, Sierra Leone, whose currency I love. It's called the Leon, right? And it is a country, when we talk about its health and education, life expectancy is about 60 years and literacy rate around 43, higher in men than in women. One would hope that they continue pushing so that women as well get more education in the country. Now, major challenges include healthcare access, maternal mortality, and youth unemployment. Education is improving, but the country is still rebuilding from the ravages of Ebola. But from this great country, we get a proverb. And the proverb says, a single bracelet can never jingle. Mwalimu, how would you interpret that? At least you have the name.
Bracelet.
Yes, can never jingle.
Yeah, it's almost just the same as unity. If you are one person, jiwe moja haliwezi kupika. You have to be in a group. Solidarity, I think, is all about solidarity. If you are together, you jingle, you make noise. You're able to bargain, you're able to advocate, you're able to get. But if you are alone, your voice may not be heard.
When you said solidarity, I almost automatically said forever. Remember, how would you interpret that?
I think it's the same thing. Sierra Leone, that's the country in West Africa. It is. It was where the freed slaves went to. The Creoles.
Yes.
Oh, very well, very well. Of course, a single jewel can never jingle. You need to be two to work. 3 team. Team is about team, I think. Team always works, and coming from the background of a trade union, it's always about team and people.
Yeah, teamwork works. All right, we're going to be looking into some of these areas where teamwork should actually work. And questions about teachers under scrutiny. It seems as though there's issues with the Teacher Service Commission. Principals are what the standard this morning. Principals from hell, what's happening in schools and what's happening with high-handed and biased promotions. They've become familiar in schools. Strikingly, these malpractices are not just introduced by junior staff or students, but by those entrusted with running the institutions. That's one thing. Over the weekend, the president in Doha had an interview with James Bays, and he said that he had hired 100,000 teachers and had fixed the education problem in the country, and that there's a new funding model in place. Everything is fantastic. It's going on great. Is that the same bill of health that you would give to things, Bwana Milemba?
Very well, quite broad. That's a sector that encompasses very, very many people. We have more than 450,000 teachers and thousands of principals, both in secondary and in primary. And you did mention two things about, one, promotions. Promotions is one of the biggest challenges for the teachers of this country, because promotion ceased completely in the years 2017-18 and was only woken up later on, about 3 years ago. And that meant that many teachers stagnated without any hope of promotion. And when even we woke it up, the amount given by Parliament for promotion was only 1 billion every financial year, and that was too little. So we did, as a union, approach and go to the Teacher Service Commission and questioned the amounts of monies that were remaining, courtesy of the teachers, principals who retire, natural attrition, those who die. And I think we succeeded to some small extent because they were able to mop up all that money, and it made the budget for promotions to increase. If we would have used the 1 billion that was given by the budget, would have only promoted 5,000 teachers. But then with mopping up of the monies, and I want to thank the chair, Teacher Service Commission, then we were able to promote 52,000 teachers. But it's still a problem. Currently, we are only able to promote 25,000 teachers yearly. But I want to thank the president. When we went to the State House, and I want to keep his promise or not, he said that that's very little because we did petition him. And he said that every year now we promote 50,000.
How?
Very well. On Friday, we have already written a letter to Teacher Service Commission. It is in the public now, and we are meeting in Naivasha to now lay down what are the structured ways in which we shall achieve the promotion of the 50,000 teachers, including them now going to the Education Committee in Parliament to give them a budget for the same, alongside many other things.
What does the promotion of a teacher entail? What are we talking about? And maybe also Malimu jump in here. If we are saying that a teacher is moving up a grade, whereby now they are not just a teacher of a subject, but that they can hold a managerial position, what does the promotion of a teacher actually mean here?
The promotion of a teacher means moving from one grade to the next.
Okay.
The first grade that a teacher would get absorbed to will take about 3 years before the next promotion. Currently, we have the teachers of the JSS who are beginning with contractual understanding. So when they stay in contractual understanding for 2 years, the third year, when they have done their main years, P&P, they are actually now demanding they get promoted, because according to the understanding we have with the Teacher Service Commission, after 3 years of just entry, should get that promotion. So that is another way we should undertake it. So one is promotion from one grade to another. There would be promotion to a managerial position, and then there would be promotion, basically the two.
Is it a given? Is it standard practice? Is it always done? Or is it something that must be negotiated at every turn?
It's supposed to be done, naturally. But Teacher Service Commission doesn't do that.
Why?
So we have to negotiate sometimes, and sometimes push for it.
Why?
Yes, that's what the employer can do.
So perhaps the conversation needs to be had then between the Ministry of Education and the TSC, and that teachers should actually not be involved in this conversation. Mwalimu?
Yeah, correct.
Why?
Because if it's done, and this is the question I asked, is it an as it's supposed to happen.
Yes.
Teachers should not be asking all the time, please promote us, make us PNP. It's supposed. That's why I asked: is it supposed to happen, or is it supposed to be negotiated? You said it's supposed to be.
Bring in the Minister of Education. Thank you. Let's hear from you.
Minister of Education also does the policy. It has to come in,
right?
But what I want to say is, as my friend Mheshimiwa Omboko is saying, the truth of the matter is it's supposed to happen, but it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Okoh Milemba is one of the people fighting very hard. And why should he be fighting very hard? To have teachers confirmed. Right now, the biggest war in the country we are having with the people called intern teachers. Now, the word intern means a person is still practicing to become a teacher. But that's true. We know it's not true. The teachers whom we are talking about who have been employed are not interns. They're supposed to be teachers. They have already graduated.
Yeah.
They are qualified teachers. They're supposed to be on the job doing their work, not as interns, but as teachers. Now, why we are playing these games whereby we have got interns, people who are supposed to be like practicing, like teaching practice, is already a problem. It's a miscalculation. It's a bad thing. Now, these are the problems that we are having in the ministry. When the president goes to a foreign country and says that he has streamlined the education sector, it is not true. There are a lot of things that are not streamlined, and we know it. And he called us average thinkers, and I agree sometimes some of us are average. Because if we can come and agree that things have been streamlined and things are working, they are not working. The education sector is in a big problem right now. The teaching profession has a big queries, and my brother Omboko Milemba, we are happy we are having you, and we want more pressure on the government, activists, unions. Then that's why we have unions to advocate for these teachers, to fight for them. So things are not as rosy.
You know, when you talk about promotions, it is automatic. I mean, everywhere you sit, a promotion is just automatic on how it happens, because remember, it is negotiated on how that process works.
Yes.
Now, whether the policy that you're working on has always been there is another question and a matter of debate. But question would be, even when you talk about intern teachers, it's the same thing, sorry to chime in on doctors as well, intern doctors. These are graduates. This is a doctor.
Yes.
It is just a term to delay their employment. That is the fact of the matter. So when we talk about that we have sorted out education, we're talking about promotion of teachers. Is it that our budget as a country is not able to meet the salaries of these teachers? Or is it that education in this country is not such an important thing that we will decide to delay the employment of teachers? We will decide to tell them they're interns. We will choose not to even release capitations.
I tend to think, sorry, Mheshimiwa, to come in, I tend to think that the problem is not that they don't value education. Most of our leaders, and especially the current leadership in this country, they are who they are because they went to school. As somebody sacrificed for them to be in school. We are, all of us, what we are because somebody really took us to school. The only problem I think we have is financial constraints as a country. These delays in capitation, these things you are hearing about ghost schools, you know, these things you are hearing that they are ghost students. There's nothing like a ghost student. These are terminologies used to delay those things like capitation. These are terminologies used to have time to do some talking, more talking in parliament, more committee, more sitting allowances, more things. But at the end of the day, if a system works, you see, like if you buy a machine, if it's a car, good car, how do you talk about a car? You expect the engine to work, everything to function, everything to be functioning. But when you have a car whereby some things, the wheels are falling off, things are not working, that is the type of education system now we are having. One sector may look like it's working, like when he talks about employment of teachers. Yes, I agree. Actually, in this country, there has never been a time teachers have been employed at the level we have seen this through this Kenya Kwanza government. Okay. On that one, I really give recommendation. But at the end of the day, again, after this employing them, we don't see again the salaries being released to these people. We see these issues coming out. They are not yet permanent and pensionable. So what I want to say is, it is not that we don't value education as a country. We do. what we don't have is the finances, and we are living.
Do we not have finances? Okay.
Let me tell you. Last week we were just going through. Yes. Last week we were going through corruption cases in the country, bit by bit. We just went through a little bit based off the Attorney General's report, and through what we managed to do in an hour, we had 300 billion shillings, where if prudence was employed into how we spend our money, we would get 300 billion shillings that one would say would go into education and sort out the problems that do exist. It is not that we do not have money. It is how we spend this money and what we give priorities to.
Thank you. Let me speak first on some of the issues on teachers which you did raise. Number one, why I really talked about the Minister of Education is that relationship between the Minister of Education and Teacher Service Commission. Really, the Teacher Service Commission should take care of the matters teachers. Now, the intern teachers, he's very right. Teacher Service Commission in law does not have the capacity or the authority or any powers to employ teachers as interns. It is very straight. We made the law in Naivasha some times back that they have to employ teachers on permanent and pensionable basis. So it's true this practice is actually wasting our teachers. And we as a union, we are strongly advocating that internship should be removed. When we talk about employment should be employment on PNP as it is by the law. Currently, we are having 20,000 teachers whose their contract is expiring this November. And it's very important that a budget be created. On Thursday, God willing, I'll be petitioning Parliament. I woke up at 5:30 to write 2 petitions. One was for Mwalimu Shange, who died in Lomakanda, and his body was found mutilated. The next one is about the 20,000 teachers who have whom their contracts are expiring and needs to be absorbed by government on PNP. And then 3, we are pushing the fact that they should start getting their promotions immediately, because they should have never been employed as interns.
Yes.
So already they will have done 3 years by the time they finish the first year in teaching. We have the biggest challenge in the education sector called capitation.
Okay.
Capitation is unlimited. Do you know that we finished the entire 3rd term without money being sent to school? Because Waziri was saying that is doing something called verification. And verification took a whole term. No money was sent to schools. We did invite the minister to the CS to Parliament.
Yes.
And he still went round in circles and filibustering about this process. This is a cabinet secretary who really needs to be censored. Because how would you spend the whole term doing verification and not sending any monies to school? This does not leave out the monies of the teachers who actually went to Meru during the music festival, who went to other places for drama, who were in Kakamega for sports.
Allow me to ask this.
Yes.
As a member of Parliament yourself, as well as a leader at Kupet, as well as on the committees, I have to ask, and also for yourself, Mwalimu, that when we talk about capitation, every school has a number, a designated number. Every student has a number within what was the NEMIS system, which is now CHEMIS. So the funds that are going don't go to a person that you can see. They are attached to this particular registration number. That system is housed at the Ministry of Education. It's not on Mars. It's at the Ministry of Education, Jogo House. It is there. The people in the back end work for the Ministry of Education. So when funds are being allocated, they're allocated to these numbers. Please, is anybody allowed to enter into the ministry gates and enter in this information? Anybody at all? Or must it be an agent of the Ministry of Education who then has a list of all the schools, and then they can see who is getting capitation to what number, to what institution? How does that work exactly? Because then it might give rise to the explanation that comes from Migos Agamba that they're still verifying. What do you need to verify? If you have the system, you are the one who allocates the numbers. So if you're allocating funds to a number, who else would have the information?
Yourself.
It is the minister and the ministry.
Let me go first.
Yes, please.
I'm telling you, it took me to ask a question in Parliament. Unfortunately, when the questions were answered, I was in Wajir. So I want to thank Honorable Martha. She's the one who asked them on my behalf. And the minister, CS, could not answer this question. Now, if you want to do verification, even if you don't have the system that we are talking about, education system is so well structured. You can do that verification in only 2 to 3 days, because in every sub-county, there's a sub-county director for both the ministry and Teacher Service Commission. And then there is a BOM person, and then there's a headmaster. That can be done in 3 days. So the reasons why the ministry would take more than a whole full term to do verifications, that was a lie. It was wasting time. It was filibustering in a different way of that word. It was just delay. What have we realized? The schools closed without capitation.
And the person who should be verified is actually the minister himself. Actually, he and his department and his people working under him are the ones who need to be checked and censored. And I think, Mheshimiwa, it's just a place whereby in this government, we don't just, this thing of just calling people to parliament, to parliamentary committee meetings is not enough. I think maybe now there needs to come a time in this country where some people like Migos Ogamba and others need to pay some fine or to just be punished for some of the mistakes they're doing. It is wrong for somebody just to go there and just answer some questions and dust off his coat and go back to do the same thing. Yes, that is wrong.
When they say they're verifying, I'm sorry, Dennis. If they're saying they're verifying, with whom are they verifying this thing? I'm verifying with myself that I paid to somebody that I don't know. Who would they be verifying with? I'm honestly asking that question.
It is a question that is really is waking up, and even what Mwalimu Mungai is talking about is true. We have to get these things beyond just Parliament, because if you are verifying among yourselves, among yourselves, you are not using an oversight from outside to do it, then it's a zero-sum game. We are actually not happy with what the ministry did. Students have gone home without capitation to schools. Some schools had to close early. And I think the Minister of Education has to be checked. But on the issue which you raised earlier on employment of teachers, like you said, Mwalimu Munga, this has been magic. We have been here for a long time. We've never seen what we have seen. 100,000 teachers employed, though they are about 76 because there's 20,000.
Not confirmed yet.
But look at this. In the former times, when I was still around, at least I want to thank God, we would employ only 5,000 teachers every year. And in 5 years of presidency, we would employ 5,000 teachers. No, 20,000 teachers. So to employ 100,000 to take us, I don't know how many years. So this has been very, very remarkable.
Yes.
And it must be acknowledged.
It must be. Only that what also we need to realize that as this new government was forming, we were beginning a new level of education called junior school or junior secondary school. We didn't have it before. This new level, and now that the Presidential Working Party decided to domicile it in the primary schools, yet the teachers to teach there were post-primary kind of teachers, it meant therefore again that the government had to go out of its way to again look for teachers. And again, as I speak to you, and Mwalimu will agree with me, they are not again enough. Actually, we are having one of the biggest shortages of teachers in this country is during this period, because all these things, these teachers we need, especially the junior, are teachers who are supposed to be able to teach specialized subjects. That is something that we have not yet achieved. But I want to say something before I finish that one. This verification that we're talking about is not just about capitation. The ministry is not dealing very well in things like employment of people in sectors like the KICD, Kenya Curriculum, development. We are talking about Semastea. Semastea is the Center for Maths and Science in this country. These are very key places in this country. The publishers, the books people publish, books that we read. These people, some of them, when you listen to them, they have not been paid. Some of them talk about, backlogs and so many other things. So actually, he may streamline the part of employing teachers, but there are things that go with it. I told you, education is like an engine. If the casket is not working, If the pistons are not working, if all these things are not working, then that education sector is not yet work. That engine will not move.
You know, when you talk about verification, because now we talk about the chemists that we do have. So here's a question where in this entire system, we have what we call admins. And admins, they're those who override others because they have super passwords, right?
Yeah.
And all one would need to do, and I would want to really assume that the CS is a super admin in chemist or someone else. And all they need to do is look at Dennis Aseto logged into the system today, and these are the key points that he entered into the system. And according to number 00124 of 2025, this student that Aseto entered is a ghost. You need to go to Aseto and ask Aseto, why did you enter a ghost into the system? All that information is something that can be done in less than 24 hours.
In
less than 24 hours. So when you're being told that we are verifying, that verification aspect of a system that is digital and would give you information pronto, is a lie. But apart from that, we are here celebrating that we have hired 100,000 teachers, 70,000 teachers. But remember, education is both a hardware and a software, in the sense that we have hired teachers. But remember, classes for students still is a problem. Where are these students going to? If I've hired a swimming teacher in a school that has no swimming pool...
The president said that they have built 23,000 classrooms.
Kwa ground, mambo ni different. You know, but you know, so there is the software aspect and the hardware aspect of it. So do we have enough hardware that will accommodate these teachers and the students? What are we doing to address these issues? Because education is not just about hiring teachers. It is about having schools, having enough equipment that will enable this education system to be complete.
Thank you. Finally, after the verifications, we are told there are schools which are being called ghost schools. Yes, some could be ghost schools. I don't know what they mean. But when it comes to education is not measured in the same way you do kilos, that this one is balancing the other side and this one is balancing the other side. There are areas which must have schools because of distance, because of infrastructure, and you may find there are smaller schools in those areas because of the fact that they are not accessible. These are areas which we must not close those schools. These areas are found in the Asal and other places. So the school system is beyond just measuring to the number of students. On the infrastructure, education requires enough classes, and there are not enough classes. It would have been easier if we had modeled the social paper number 1 of 2025, would have modeled the accommodation of the junior secondary schools into the secondary schools. Unfortunately, that seems to be now going under the water, because that would have really given that team and that group of students an array of access to many things, including the teachers who are available, including the infrastructure in the second schools and other things. I hope you are aware that we are operating a second school system now that is operating less its full maximum, because we have not been having Form 1. I think next year we shall not be having Form 2. Like that. So that should have been a gap that should have been filled. But I think our advice was not taken, because we did advise quite early. Currently, as it is, there are not enough classes, and the government must build enough classes. The CDFs must also contribute in building those classes so that we have enough classes for our junior schools.
If the only thing we speak about today is capitation, then I think that's fine, even after this, because I don't think we realize just how serious this lack of payment of capitation is. That if the constitutionally education is described as a right, not a favor, in the Constitution as a right to the children of the nation, and that these children of the nation are described so until the age of 18, that let's not even look at tertiary, whereby it's in a public system and it's understood that in a public system the government will make payments to ensure that you go to school either at a subsidized rate or that there's certain safeguards that are put in place. That is guaranteed under the Constitution. So when we talk about capitation having not been given, we are breaking the law.
We are breaking.
We are not just not doing a favor, or we are not just explaining away a deficit. We are breaking the law. Now, mind you, before 2025, the capitation debt was at 64.6 billion shillings for 5 years. Billion. 64.6 billion shillings. Now, this year, we may not know that in the first term, there was a balance of about 2,000 shillings per student that was unpaid. In second term, there was a balance of 3,200 and so shillings unpaid to students. Third term, whether or not Migos Ogamba sent money when the term had closed or not, 4,000 shillings was unpaid for third term. So whatever money was sent in October, in my opinion, was paying the second and first term debts. So no money was paid in term 3. That's the truth. We are fast approaching term 1 of the school year 2026, when the burden on the shoulders of the system increases significantly, because we're now doing this pathways thing with the debt. Are we serious?
And that's why you saw the other day the ministry fumbling around with some circulars about increase in school fees.
12%?
Yes, actually, yes. And in that kind of fumbling that we saw happening, they also seem to say that they have actually reduced the capitation. The capitation has normally been 22,000 in high schools, boarding 22,200. But they are now bringing it down to 12,000. I think, is it 600? Something like that, according to the data I have here. So they seem to fumble, and when we came out again and made noise about it, they came up with another circular and said, no, we have not done anything like that. We are just kind of just streamlining a few things. But the truth of the matter is, fees has been increased in high schools starting next year. Students will pay more who are going to boarding schools and high schools that matter. And apart from that, that fee is not just for only boarding. Even what we have been calling the day secondary school, which are supposed to be free, now is no longer going to be free. And I am happy we have a very good person today in the panel, Omboko Milemba, who is not only a unionist, he is also a member of parliament. He sits in the, I think, in one
Education
of the committees.
No longer
But he's in one of the committees. And he's also in the ruling party or coalition. I, as a person, I have differed so much with some of the things that we do as a country, because many times when we end up in this kind of roles and we politicize our education system, that's the word I want to bring about. We lose it. We lose it. We have professionals who are teachers. We have been left out. Many times teachers are not consulted. That's what he's saying, that even the advice they give, the professional advice that we give, is ignored by the ruling class, by the political class, and many times we are overruled. It's like we are assumed that we are even existing. So education has 4 things. Quality education comes under quality tools, the way you say it, the chalkboards, the desks, the labs that we are using. Education also comes with the environment. I'm talking even about things like sanitation. If we are talking about good education in a school, we must also talk about even the sanitation in that school. These are things that we are not addressing, and nobody seems to address them. Sometimes, again, then the good quality education is now the teaching, and well-paid teachers, and having good welfare, like even the medical cover about teachers. We need to have teachers who are well taken care of for them to teach your child. If things are done politicized, the teachers feel that things are not being done right, the medical cover is being messed around with, they feel the tools are not enough. Even if you tell everybody in the world that you are doing well in education, you are not. We are just doing something called painting a pig with lipstick. It cannot work.
Thank you. Let me go back to your very, very straight question and also intervention. That education in the Constitution is actually marked as a right. And that in the Constitution and the acts that ensured, which I think were made by Mutula Kilonzo, together with those who were there, education, especially the basic education, from primary to secondary is not only just supposed to be free, but supposed to be compulsory. Once you begin from that basis, then you track education and the need that why education should be given more emphasis. True, as you say, I did raise a question in Parliament, and I raised it to that time on the Minister for Treasury, on Bombadi. And that's the only time that we were able to realize that, after all, the capitation in schools was not going there at 22,200.
Right.
But he's the first minister to ever actually say the truth, because we were wondering what was happening. That actually the capitation is 16,700 or 800.
Yes.
And that's where we now realized. And we really had to push him very hard for him to say that statement. And therefore, the funding of education is not correct. But where did we begin? The first person who brings up the idea of free primary school education is Kibaki and Wamalwa. And they boast that in our first 100 days we shall do this. Indeed, they proceed to bring the free primary school education and bring some capitation of about 1,200. But then, when Uhuru takes over, I remember there was the Mwirya Commission, and I was a member of the Mwirya Commission. When we visited President Uhuru to present the paper, we actually told him that you need to do something on the second school education. That's how he brings the subsidized. The word is subsidized day education. That should be marked greatly. And basically, that's where we are. This is something that needs to be protected seriously. So where the challenge is, because you talked about this very, very emotively and consistently, the challenge is at Treasury. That the monies being sent to schools are not 22,200, but it's 16,700.
Well, you know how they say they retain 5,000 shillings towards infrastructure.
I challenged all those things. One thing they were saying that they were retaining the money for infrastructure. They was retaining some for sports and games. Remember, I've just talked about the games teachers not being paid. So our demand to them is that send all the monies to school. Because when the Mwirya Commission allocated this money, and you can check your notes, there was never a line budget for infrastructure. It was total money for schools. So the introduction of infrastructure is actually something that has come of late and is affecting the schools unnecessarily. So education needs to be funded properly, and the idea of increasing fees recently. There were schools that were charging students slightly much more less. And now they are being told to charge higher. I think that's not the correct way to go. It's something that we shall have to intervene again, so that fees is not made too high. After all, education at the basic is supposed to be free and compulsory, as by the Constitution.
So, as you talk about that and interventions that are there, there is the aspect of political goodwill in solving out all these issues. Because remember, it is a right under the Constitution. We have a political class that has to ensure that the policies and all the laws that pertain to ensuring that this right gets to each and every child in the country is actually achieved. But here we are now speaking in terms of, do we have a political goodwill that will ensure the quality that you talk about, Mwalimu, is actually achieved, that the capitation gets to teachers on time? When you talk about automatic promotion of teachers, it's something that is done. Do we have that political goodwill to address the problems in the education sector?
Very good question. And the issue about education and politics in this country, education is now used as a campaign tool. Our brothers and sisters who are in the political class, they use the word education to get bonga points, to get what I want, let me not advertise for anyone, to get what we call, they want to get mileage, political mileage out of education. So these promises, and Mheshimiwa has mentioned some of them here. He has said the leaders who have campaigned, somebody even one time came up and said, we'll give free laptops to all children in grade 1, or is it class 1?
Yes.
Of course, it was never achieved. These were political shenanigans, most of these things. So the word political goodwill goes also with political mileage of the person who is talking that time. Recently, we were summoned to State House. I happened to be a member of an organization that was also invited. One of my leaders is here who even addressed us at State House. And while at State House, what came out was we expected or personally expected that our leaders were going to talk about some of these things that we're talking about here.
What did you talk about?
The issues that we're talking about, capitation. Some of us who are seated in this room right now had the opportunity to really come out and talk about it there. But whenever we have these kind of platforms, when we sit in such situations, what happens is that we end up getting also politicized. We end up singing 2 terms, 1 term, and we end up forgetting the nitty-gritty of the education sectors, that things that are affecting us, the capitation, the issues that we're talking about, the verification of exercises, the issues about teachers' health. Actually, I'm so keen about this issue about teachers' health, and it was one of the topics you had said we'll talk about. But I want to just say, these are the things that we as teachers expected when we are called to the political level, like that platform we enjoyed last time, we will get. But at the end of the day, when we came out of there, the issue and the talk or whatever we seem to have gotten out of there was the 10,000 shillings that we were given and a few other things that we sang like 2 term. What did we achieve when we met the head of state at State House?
So maybe what you were going to do was not actually what was intended.
And that is the question is asking, that do we have political goodwill? No, we have political drama in education. We play politics of education whenever we are anywhere near political platforms. So we don't end up talking about the things that are affecting us in the education sector. These things that you raise, and I've listened to this show many times, we raise very pertinent issues. But how come these pertinent issues don't seem to reach the people who are supposed to be acting on them? It's because
Go ahead.
we who have been given the responsibility to do it, don't do it. We either fear because we may lose our positions, we may lose our electorates, and that is let us depoliticize the education sector in this country.
At the expense of children. At the expense of children whose futures then are hanging in the balance of somebody who doesn't want to do something because of a political affiliation. At the expense of children whose futures are permanently compromised at this age because somebody doesn't want to do their job, or because somebody's turning a blind eye to the blatant corruption, mismanagement, misappropriation of things, at the expense of children whose lives will be forever stained because of this foundation that they've gotten, which is shaky at best. Let's give you an example. We're going into 2026 when we'll have the first cohort of grade 10. We were told that by the 31st of October, the books that will be used in these pathways would be ready. Today is the 11th of November. Not done.
They're not there.
We were told that we would be very clear. You're at the helm of Kupet. We were told that there will be a clear demarcation between who is teaching where, who is doing what. Still
nothing.
Not
structures
done.
And whatever.
Capitation for 3rd term in 2025 was sent when children had already gone home. I can bet my bottom dollar that come January 6th, when schools open, money for first term will not have been sent, and we have a critical change that's happening for grade 10. This is the reality. It's not political, it's the truth. And here we are still flirting with the idea that maybe things would get better. It's not.
Kwame Nkrumah said, let me just say something, Wesh.
No, let me pick up from there. You had a good bite, very good bite. You are right. The capitation money for 2025 has not been sent. Don't even say that it was sent when students were at home, because we are following the track. It's not here in schools. Now, there are opportunities which we have had to interact and to get in spaces where you can influence the issues of teachers. And one of them was the one that was spoken about by my colleague here. Teachers were invited to State House, and I think I was one of the leaders of that particular delegation. And in State House, we took a petition. The petition was read by 3 leaders. The leaders were from Kesha, Kepsha, Kupet, and also Nat. And I think what we petitioned, brother, included CBA. You know, my biggest challenge for the teachers is the low pay they're having. And the CBA had been given, and the CBA is to be paid in 4 years. So the petition we gave to presidency and government generally was that CBA be shortened to 2 terms. That is 2 years. And that is why on 21st of this month, I'll be in Naivasha with Teacher Service Commission. We have also written to them so that we can intervene to see that how will this be structured. The next thing we spoke there, if you were there, was the issue of capitation to schools. And the person who spoke on capitation was the head of Schools Association.
Yes.
Yes. The chairman of
Mr. Chair, and he talked very well.
Very good. And now, thank you for being that honest. Because he spoke very well and he was actually given compliments for his speak. And he explained everything, including what we have been told here. The third thing we spoke about was promotion. And that's how we got this aorta of extra 25,000 teachers being promoted, and which we want to put in structured way in Naivasha over the weekend. We talked about the hardship allowance. Remember, hardship allowance was being removed from teachers in certain areas which were already benefiting, and then we were able to actually seize it. So now teachers will get hardship allowance regardless of where they are. We talked about stagnation, and on stagnation, that's where we have the biggest challenge. We shall also be dealing with it in Naivasha. We talked about CPG, if you remember.
Career progression guidelines.
You should look in my eyes.
I'm looking at you,
CPG,
sir.
we talked about it.
Yes.
And the intervention is being undertaken on Friday and Saturday this month.
You talked. I like the word you're saying. We talked.
And that is the work.
No action yet.
That is the work of a trade union. And now we are following it with the action. That's why we are having a meeting now. So I would also want you to be a good debater. So that when you speak on these things, you actually
this is
say
the problem.
this is what has been done,
But I think
this
that
has not been done.
Do we have a problem whereby we go to Naivasha?
We also talked about
we go to Mheshimiwa.
No, it is the president who talked about it.
We talk about having meetings. We go to Mombasa.
Yes,
we go
Naivasha.
to Nakuru. And we go to Naivasha. We go and we're holed up in a hotel for 3-4 days to have a conversation.
Yes.
The time is ticking. These children are going to school in January.
I'm so happy.
The meetings that we have, unfortunately, rarely translate into a situation that we can look at and say, because of that meeting, there's money in the bank of these schools.
That is what
should they not translate?
That is what I'm telling Mheshimiwa. Talking is not action. We talk too much. We can talk in State House. We can talk in funerals. They talk a lot in funerals. They talk about education in funerals every day. They talk about these things, but they are not doing anything. That is the problem. He says we talked about stagnation. We are still stagnated. They talked about capitation. We still have not received. So what is this talking? What does it add us to? We as teachers, we as the education stakeholders, we are saying enough of talking. Mheshimiwa Mboko Milemba, reach a place as a government and do something about our education sector. The president was the other day in Doha, Qatar. He talked. He said how this country is doing very well. That is mere talk. Talk. One lady called Lucy Kibaki said, Domo does not add value to this country. We are too many talkers and very few doers. The education sector needs doers right now. I must finish just by saying this thing. My brother has said that there was something to talk about medical cover. It was not the unions that raised the issue of the medical cover with the president. It's the president who raised it himself and said, we want to overhaul the medical cover. And as days have gone by, we have seen the rush of rushing teachers to the so-called SHA. And we saw my brother here seated here and others yesterday signing a deal for teachers to enter into the SHA medical cover and removing teachers from their comprehensive medical cover which they have been having. And we have seen teachers who are in Mombasa right now for another talk conference saying there again that they were not consulted. There was no public participation. All we are trying to tell this government, we are aware there are a lot of deals going around. Most of our leaders, whom we are calling political leaders who are in the education sector, there are a lot of, when you hear they are going to Naivasha, when you hear they are going to Mombasa for CAPTCHA and all these meetings, when you hear that people are going to State House to meet the president, we are not going to do much apart from cutting deals. This education sector must reach a place we stop cutting deals and handle matters that are affecting the education sector head on.
My question is really simple. With all these meetings that we're having and the talking that is happening, do we really need them? Because one would argue that we have an education policy that guides how education will be implemented in the country. Why are we sitting down to discuss about employing teachers, yet there is a policy guideline on that? Why are we sitting to discuss about capitation, yet we know very well schools need capitation? When will we sit and say, capitation was needed, it was sent? All we need to discuss about is CBA that is there, and we need to discuss how we are implementing these things. But sitting down to discuss something that is clear and open, I'd say, is a waste of time.
Thank you. The foundation of trade unions is based on dialogue. And the coming up of the trade unions was originally because that the workers were having direct interactions with the employers. So we have the tripartite. And the tripartite is about dialogue and talking. When you completely push out discussions of dialogue in the trade union movement, then you have killed the negotiations.
Even on capitation?
CBA is based on negotiations. So what we are doing, once you talk, for instance, we had the talk, what you are calling talk, we now turn it into a structured meeting, like what we are having in Naivasha. And then you turn it into a CBA, because there's no way you will actually now actualize the money without taking it to the CBA.
On CBA, Milemba, I agree. But on capitation, do we really need to sit to talk about capitation?
I'm talking to you about the structure of getting these things done. So you talk within a room, you take it to CBA, you sign a CBA. Because there's no way you'll bring monies into the CBA without having a discussion. So for me and trade unions, talking is the beginning, pushing is the action, and getting to the action is the action. So we shall continue working not only in the boardrooms, but also working to actualize these things. And what we know is that the education is not doing very well, but we still must continue pushing to realize.
Are you comfortable for 2010?
At State House, we also dealt with the medical cover, and the medical cover for teachers, actually, the president who spoke about it.
Yes.
And yesterday we had a structured meeting, which gave us the proposal of SHA, and we have the proposal of IONMINET. And we are comparing the two. Public participation is on. It will continue for the next 2 weeks, and then we shall be making a decision on the best. But from even what we saw yesterday, if the SHA one is actualized, you will notice that it's having some edge over the one we were having, because we had a provider of medical cover, and is also a profit-geared person. So he insists that, for instance, for a teacher to go to hospital, you cannot go there twice or thrice in a week. You must go there once, and there are many things. So we have let it to go to the teachers. The teachers will give their
and
opinion,
the teachers, as teachers on the ground, we are speaking. We have spoken in Mombasa. The teacher, actually, from me, I'm personally living from Mombasa. There's a heads conference going on in Mombasa, and in Mombasa, the teachers made it very clear that they have not been consulted. We saw the unionists signing.
We did not sign anything.
Okay, we saw them kind of talking about this issue. The issue talking. Let me talk about. Sorry, my brother. That cannot not say the word signing.
Okay.
But what I want to say is, we saw them seeming to agree that we are moving to SHA. We want to say, as teachers, before you consult us, and you union leaders, we want to warn you very seriously. Don't joke with teachers' lives. If you take us to a program that people already talk about has failed, it is not working. You go anywhere in this country, anything talked about called SHA, we are hearing about corruption. We are hearing that it's not working. We are hearing that so many talk that people are used to is going on with the SHA thing. Too much talking and very little going on in SHA. We as teachers are warning our union leaders very directly. Teachers' lives matter. Don't trade. Don't cut deals with our lives. We have had our insurance medical cover, comprehensive, IONMINET. We have had our issues, yes, but we had hoped that our issues can be corrected within that. But when you want just to shift us suddenly because of wanting to please somebody, we as teachers will meet you in the next election, and it will not be easy for you.
And on that note, unfortunately, our time has run out. I'll give you 20 seconds at the most. Sure.
What we are doing is that the teachers have not been solely happy in minutes.
And not with SHA.
We are giving a chance the teachers to also look at other options.
Okay.
SHA is one of them,
SHA is not,
because honestly, there'll be the public participation. There'll be the tendering program, and after public participation, we should be able to choose the correct medical cover for the teachers. And that we shall do it also in a structured way and consulting the teachers. So also be consulted as you go in Mombasa. What is going on there is public participation. It will also go in Migori next week when we have the ADC, and finally we shall get a place. Thank you for those contributions.
With a yes or no answer, very quickly, the last, are you comfortable with the direction we're going into 2026 with the grade 10s? Yes or no?
Grade 10 will be okay.
Yes or no?
I'm satisfied.
Are you okay?
No, of course not. We cannot be satisfied.
It's 2 minutes past 10.
Teachers are not ready. We are not tooled, all of us. The finances are not there. Capitation is not there. I am a high school teacher. I'm supposed to be one of the folk in that grade 10.
Yes.
My colleagues in high school are telling me very clearly, they have not been retooled. We don't even know what it's all about.
Kazi kwako. There's a lot of work to be done, indeed. And we're following this as sure to be able to look into it and see what happens in the future. It's necessary that we get it worked on. Omboko Milemba is the chairperson of the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers. Mwalimu Peter Mungai, education advocate, teacher, as well as researcher at Kewota. Thank you both for being here this morning. It's 2 minutes past 9. We look forward to the next one. Good morning.
It is now 9 a.m. with ICEA Lion. Insurance and investment made simple for people like you, courtesy of ICEA Lion.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The hate speech case against Mumias East MP Peter Selassie resumes today, with the court set to decide whether to proceed to trial or refer it to the NCIC for alternative resolution. The case was sent to NCIC for review following a court order on October 8th. Selassie has expressed interest in an out-of-court settlement. He was arrested in May for allegedly making inciting remarks during rallies in Meru, Isiolo and Nanyuki. He denied the charges and was released on a 200,000 shillings cash bail. 5 Form 4 candidates in Kwale County are sitting their KCSE exams from various hospitals after falling ill. County Director of Education Ahmed Abdi said his office is working with NEC to ensure the students take their exams in a safe and conducive environment.
Nafikiri idadi ya watoto watano ambao wanafanya mtihani kwa hivi sasa hospitalini, vijana wavulana 3 na wasichana 2. Hali ya tu mazingara na ugonjwa ya hapo na pale, lakini ile changamoto ya kwa mtoto amepata mjamzito ama pregnancy cases we don't have. Na pia nawashukuru kina mama organizations wamechangia pakubwa sana. Hatuna mtoto ambaye anajifungua kutoka Kwale kwa hivi sasa.
He added that no cases of cheating have been reported so far and that the distribution of examination papers is progressing smoothly.
Kidogo kuna hali ya hewa, mambo na hali ya mvua si sana, haitatizi sana, wala hakuna mahali ambayo magari yanashikwa eti ama mtihani unachelewa kufika shuleni kwa watahiniwa. Nafikiri kaunti ya Kwale hatuna udanganyifu. Watoto wetu wanafanya vyema na mtihani wao ni ya barabara kabisa.
Religious leaders in Homa Bay County have urged candidates vying for the Kasipul parliamentary seat to stop using youth to incite violence. Led by Abrahams Odongo, the leaders condemned recent clashes in the area that left 2 youth dead. Speaking outside the Homa Bay County Commissioner's office, Odongo appealed to young people not to be drawn into acts of violence during the election period.
As the clergy, we are condoling with those who are bereaved. We are praying for those who are injured, and we are praying for quick recovery of those who are still in hospital, because we believe that it didn't have to arrive at that point. We are making an appeal as the members of the clergy to our political class, all players and actors and stakeholders in the political scene. They do their campaigns based on the issues and manifesto. They make appeal to the people in a peaceful way. At the end of the day, nobody will be happy to be elected as a member of parliament to represent graves. We are appealing for peace and respect of human life and property.
And the call was echoed by Abdul Masood, chairman of SUPKEM Homa Bay branch.
We as the clergy, we have resolved that there's need for peace. Peace across all the sides of the divides, our county of Homa Bay, Kasipul, and I call upon our people to embrace peace as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, we are brothers and sisters. So there's no need of creating enmity amongst ourselves. So I call upon now the political class, the provincial administration, let us all collectively, even the church leaders, collectively embrace peace.
And that's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga, and remember to continue enjoying the EPL marches across our radio stations, Berur, Radio Maisha, and right here on Spice FM.
94.4 Spice FM. Nairobi.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something you must do.
Like now, you abandon, of course, the narrative of wheelbarrow, Mutuamjengo, Mama Mboga, and all those, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion to service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's in itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord. It shouldn't be like that.
I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing police of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And indeed, getting into more conversations at 11 minutes after 9 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. On this Tuesday, the 11th of November, we continue. And we're going to be looking into the future. How do you make sure that the future is guaranteed for business in Africa? We'll look into that as we get into the conversation. But then you must have a plan, whether you're doing that or whether you're doing your own personal business, isn't it?
And you have to plan, because remember, life comes in different stages. So it is all about your first job, first investment, maybe even your first child. So, so you become a first-time parent. And with all that, you have to plan, because one day you're thinking about retirement and the kind of legacy that you want to pass to your offspring, to your children, so that when you're not on the face of the earth, there is a plan that you left for them, investment somewhere, funds that you've put aside for them to continue flourishing. This is where ICEA Lion comes in to ensure that it holds your hand, it takes you through the processes and ensures that this plan that you have becomes not just a plan but a reality. And this is all about money market funding to secure your family's future with insurance, because planning ahead isn't just a day's affair, it is a daily encounter and something that is there for everyone. ICEA helping you to protect, grow and plan for lives every stage.
Absolutely fantastic. And getting into talking about planning and going into the future, that future makes its debut in our conversation again. Funding the future, how Boost Africa is empowering startups across the continent. We have two guests today. George Odo is a senior partner and MD of Africa Invest East and Southern Africa, joins us this morning. George, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Thank you for being here. Also joined by Ted Pantoni, who is the CEO of Turaco, also here this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Yeah, fine, thanks.
Welcome to the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. We'll be looking at some of these issues this morning. But before we get into it, Dennis is going to welcome you with today's proverb. So let me give you the backstory. Every week we go to a different African country. We gather up on many things, enjoy the cuisine, the culture, and then we come back with a proverb for every day of the week. And we then put you good people to work when you come here, because then you will interpret the proverb for us. Good?
Yes, sounds great.
All right.
And so today we are in Sierra Leone. The reason I went to Sierra Leone is because there are anniversaries that are coming around, and because they have diamonds, perhaps I would get a good deal. So it is a country that is rich of diamonds, gold, bauxite, rutile, which is what do we call it? Titanium ore, coffee, and cocoa. So if you're a lover of chocolate, perhaps a bit of Sierra Leone. If you bought diamond at some point, maybe it came from Sierra Leone as well. But from this great country, we have the proverb, a single bracelet does not jingle. How would you interpret that?
A single bracelet does not jingle. I guess for me, what comes to mind is you can't do it alone. You've got to form a team. You've got to work with others if you want to jingle. Otherwise, there's no noise, no results. That's how I would interpret it.
How would you interpret it?
Yeah, it makes me feel sad, right? If a single bracelet's there on its own, right? There's no joy, there's no effervescence in that. So yeah, I think if you're together with people that you can jingle with, that's the point of life.
Yeah, indeed.
Well said, well put.
Absolutely. The Sierra Leoneans would be proud.
Yeah, they bring wisdom too, not just those other things, huh?
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you for being here. We're looking into Boost Africa, of course, this morning, but then also looking at the bigger picture in terms of what happens with business across the continent, and how the initiative between the European Investment Bank and the African Development Bank, supported by the European Union, are then making it easier, a little bit more comfortable for businesses to do business. So let's begin with Africa Invest. Tell us briefly about Africa Invest, what you do, and how you're working with the Boost Africa program.
Okay, so thanks for having me. My name is George, as you mentioned. I work with Africa Invest, been with the firm for now 17 years. I'm one of the senior partners and a member of the executive committee. Africa Invest is probably one of the more established private equity, venture capital, private capital groups in the continent. Majority owned by Africans, started in Tunisia back in 1994. So 31 years old. We're involved in private equity, venture capital, private credit. We've raised probably about $2.7 billion since we started. Initially, a lot of the funds we raised were smaller funds. We did what is referred to as small investments, $1 million, $5 million. Today, our flagship business, we invest between $30 to $50 million a ticket. Those are in mature businesses. And we get our money from development financial institutions such as the EIB, African Development Bank, IFC of the World Bank, FMO the Dutch, DG the Germans. But what's exciting, Ndu and Dennis, is we've seen a change. We're seeing African money coming into this alternative asset space. So we're seeing pension funds investing in this. We're seeing asset managers from Africa, insurance companies, banks, which is exciting because you don't only want, while you encourage foreign investment, you want local money to fund your local economies. So we've been doing this for a while. Some of the investments we've invested in, which you may be familiar with, we are a significant shareholder in Britam Insurance, largest single shareholder there today. We are one of the largest, actually second largest shareholder in Prime Bank, second largest shareholder in I&M Bank. We were the largest shareholder in Brookhouse International School back in the day. We were investors in Family Bank. We are second largest investor in Auto Express. So we invest in African businesses, and typically they're regional businesses which may start from Kenya or may start from Uganda or may start from other countries, Tanzania, but have a regional footprint. And so we create jobs. We give access to capital to these businesses. We help them with their governance and help them grow. And that's what we do for a living. The team consists of about 110 people. So we're the largest team in the continent in this space. So not only the most established, but the largest. Head office is in Tunis, where we have an office in Casablanca, Algiers, Cairo. So strong presence in North Africa. We have an office in Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos takes care of our Anglophone West Africa business. And then we have an office in Abidjan that takes care of our Francophone West Africa business. And then coming to the side of the continent, we have an office in Nairobi. The Nairobi office looks after Eastern and Southern Africa for now. Later on, probably next year or the year after, we'll set up in South Africa as well. We've done over 230 transactions since we started in the continent. We've done what we call 130 plus exits or realizations, where you invest in a company like a Turaco, and then you sell your stake and you remit the proceeds back to your investors. And we've invested in over 30 African countries. So we can claim that we have a sense of what works in Africa and what doesn't work. And across different businesses, it's health sector, education sector, banking, insurance, etc. But I think what's interesting and what's exciting is the Boost Africa program. It enables investors like us to work with companies that would ordinarily not feature because they're high risk. They're early stage startup. So the Boost Africa program by EIB was one of the big investors in our funds. And apart from giving us commercial capital to invest in the fund, they also gave us what we call technical assistance grants to help us train and get the businesses investment ready.
Yep. So there is Turaco as well that is in there now, and one would want to look at who is Turaco, what inspired Turaco to set up, and how then does Turaco work together, connect with Africa Investment to see that everything happens in a cohesive manner. So Turaco, who's Turaco, what inspired you, and how do you then connect with Africa Investment?
Yeah, thanks. So my name is Ted Pantone. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Turaco. And Turaco is a micro-insurance company focusing on insuring the next billion people on the planet. That's what we're set out to do. That's our vision. We're about 5 million people in. So we have 5 million customers that we sell micro-insurance products to. So micro-medical, micro-funeral, micro-life across currently 6 markets in Africa. So Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, Ghana, and we just expanded into Tanzania and Zambia as well. And what we do is we sell insurance that people want to buy, right? So when I first got started with this business, the big question was, do mass market, low-income people across the continent want to buy insurance, right? Do they want to use their very limited resources to pay for an insurance product? My response to that overwhelmingly now is yes. When we sell our products and we call people up on the phone and say, hi, do you want to buy insurance from Turaco? We get 30, 40, 50% of people saying yes. So as of today, we're insuring 1 out of every 40 Kenyans. That's a huge portion of this population, and we're very proud of that. And yeah, what we've built is a technology company to sell insurance, to sell and then manage insurance policies. I was just joking with George, who's invested in lots of insurance companies, that when you look at Kenya, there's too many insurance companies and not enough insurance. Right? You were just advertising for one of them. The problem is not, is there insurance available? It's, are the right insurance products available, and are they easy for people to buy? Right? When you talk to people in the village, right? My first home in Kenya was in Busia. When I talk to my friends in Busia, they don't know that they can buy insurance, right? It's not something that is easy for them to approach. They think it's a product for the rich, that you have to have a government job or an NGO job or work for a big corporate to be able to have insurance. We're trying to change that. We're trying to make it so that every farmer, every shopkeeper, every boda driver can have an insurance policy.
How do you do that?
Yeah, so we sell it through partnerships. So we work with some of the largest brands on the continent. So in Kenya, we partner with Okoh, which is actually a new investment for the Africa Invest Group. Yeah. They, you probably know their brand, but they manufacture and distribute smartphones on financing. And when you buy some of their smartphones, you actually have Turaco's medical insurance as a part of that purchase. So you're buying more than a phone. You're buying a phone, and you're also getting medical insurance. You're also getting device insurance, access to other loans. So we partner with them. We partner with Safaricom through M-Pesa. So you can go to M-Pesa's USSD and buy our insurance directly from them. That's a very new product that hasn't actually been very well advertised yet, but we have our first 100,000 people on that product. And we work with a number of microfinance banks to embed our insurance into loans that people are already buying. The key for insurance is you want to get people to be able to make a rational, not an emotional purchasing decision, right? When you think about, do I want to protect my family? The answer is always yes. When you think about, do I want to reach into my pocket and pay to protect my family today? The answer is sometimes no.
Especially when your pocket is empty.
Yeah. Exactly. So what we've built is a way for people to be able to make that decision once and then have the money automatically deducted from a savings account or automatically added to a loan product so that they don't have to keep making that hard decision to pay for it, but they know that their family's protected. So they have the benefit of the peace of mind, which is the primary benefit of insurance, is that you can sleep better at night, you can take more risks in your life, but they don't have to think about paying for it every time the bill comes due.
Okay. So George, as we look at the landscape of Africa, that the most recorded and reported issue when it comes to small businesses as a challenge is access to credit. It's access to the funds to set up business in a way that will be impactful on economies. So you can set up anything. You can set up a little shop and sell gum. Doesn't really bear any kind of impact. So for impactful business that will impact the setter of the business as well as the consumer of the product or service, that the biggest challenge towards that is access to credit. Have you then been able to progress on that particular issue?
Yeah, so thanks for that question, Du. Number of different solutions, but the ones that come to mind immediately are you've got to set the right product. And it's similar to what Ted said about insurance. With investments, you've also got to have the right product. When I was meeting, I met somebody just before I walked in. And the first thing, when I told him what I did, he said, can I get access to finance? So you are right. It is a real problem. So the question is, do you go to a bank? Do you go to a venture capital company, a fund of company? Do you go to a private equity? And is private equity, is it SME? Is it mid cap? Is it large cap? So there are different types of money out there. So having those different products helps. And this is one thing we've been able to do as Africa Invest. When we started off, we started as a private equity group. Today, we describe ourselves as an investment platform because in this platform, we have different products. And depending on the need, we are able to basically offer a different product to address that need. So the right product is one answer. The other answer, because access to finance is almost not just the real problem. The real problem, if you unpeel it, it's actually how do you, once you get the finance, how do you then invest it? How do you make sure that you've got the right governance structures around it? How do you make sure that you don't borrow money and blow it all in the wrong things? So having that governance structure and having that financial literacy, the training is important. We also help with that, and this is where the Boost Africa program also comes to play, because they have access to technical assistance grants, which allows us to train the entrepreneurs. So they don't just get money, they also get money and get training on how to use that money, how to deploy that capital. And so that makes a difference, how to set up a governance structure. Those are some of the solutions that we come up with. So right product and then the right environment, the training also makes a difference.
Yeah, you see, as you talk about still access to finance, it's a problem, we agree. But then again, there are others who are willing to come in, hold your hand, and show you the right ways of going through. So from a perspective of Turaco now, let's enter Boost Africa. How has that assistance by Boost Africa helped, especially startups, get it right when it comes to addressing the earlier on challenges that come up with starting a business? Because it is a common denominator. It's usually not so easy, but with others who are willing to hold your hand, it's easier to navigate through and become a success.
Yeah, happy to share our experience. So we raised a Series A investment, which was co-led by the African Invest team back in 2022. And when we raised that money, I'm a founder, right? So I don't like spending the money. It's very hard to raise money, and so I try to hold on to it. Obviously, we need to make investments that are the right investments for the business. But there's always something that I'm like on the edge. Should we do this thing with our team? Should I invest in this HR resource? Should I invest in this new piece of technology? So there's some things that are always on the periphery of what I think are core to our business, that if I had an extra piece of investment, I might make the decision to say yes to that. So we actually, one of those specific circumstances came up when I was talking to one of our board members who was from African Invest, and they said, hey, we actually have a facility from Boost Africa, from European Investment Bank, that we can use to pay for that, so that it doesn't have to come out of the investment that you just blood, sweat, and tears raised. So we made an application for some capital from Boost Africa, and they deployed it to us. And what it enabled us to do, very specifically, we hired a coach to help support myself and a few of our other leaders to just upskill us, right? The difference between running a business with 15 people that's growing a little bit each month and running a business with 150 people that's growing 2x year on year is a very different job, and the team that you need around you to do that are very different teams. So I wanted to upskill my people, I wanted to upskill myself to be able to do that, and we got to do that through the Boost Africa program. So I'm deeply grateful. We actually now make all those investments directly from Turaco's own investment capital, but I wouldn't have believed in it as much had I not had the grant capital to be able to do that.
How have we seen that businesses have been impacted that have started, and really, what kind of businesses have, applied for and been given the funds they need to either start up or to carry on?
So we have there are about 15 companies in our investment fund. So, I think Boost Africa, if I recall correctly, supported 6 managers such as ourselves to set up funds. So in our fund, we have 15 companies. To invest in those 15 companies, we looked at more than 1,000 companies. So how many came for the interview? How many did we look at? How many did we vet? Over 1,000 to then invest in 15. Are all those 15 going to be winners? No. In fact, there will be some dogs in that pack. And we have already probably written off a couple of them. And then that's the nature of the business. In venture capital, they say 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 will succeed. Obviously, Turaco is going to be one of the ones to succeed, given all the signs we've seen so far.
Yeah.
But you get some right, you get some wrong. How many do we talk to? Quite a number. And it's the nature of the beast. That's what we have to do to find the successful businesses. And sometimes it's not as obvious. And, the other thing that's also important to understand is we invest in companies which may not be profitable, but we invest in companies that have revenue. So we don't invest in pre-revenue businesses. Some businesses come and say, I've got this great idea. And we listen and we encourage them and we tell them that's not for us. We refer them to who does that. We invest in businesses that are already generating revenue look like they have a trajectory towards profitability. So they seem to have got their model right, and they just need help, whether it's in governance and some, support on management. That's where we can come in, and we leverage our network. Having invested in more than 200 companies, we have a huge network.
What kind of revenue are we talking about here? If you're saying that a business is already generating some kind of revenue, what are we talking about here?
I'll tell you. So there is a business in the music space. They're probably doing revenues of. They started when we invested. They were probably doing $200,000. They're probably at about $1 million today. There are others which could be, over $10 million. So it's anything. It can be 500,000. It can be $1 million. It can be maybe a little less, but it's demonstrated the model works and they're generating revenue. And it's a wide array. It's in the health tech space. Tech because you're able to leverage tech to get to the low income, such as what Turaco's doing. It's in the edu-tech space, so education businesses, again, that are leveraging on technology, whether it's coding, whether it's, working with cell phones and smartphones. It's also in the fintech space, so it's a lot of tech. Our fund tends to be a tech-focused fund.
Okay.
That's our bias.
So it's got to be somebody who is not, you're not looking at somebody's potential here. It's somebody who's already demonstrated that potential and is already reaping some kind of benefit, if what I'm hearing is correct.
No, slightly different, I mean, you have a point, but let me just expound on it.
$200,000 is quite something, though.
No. Yeah. So that's just, that's a revenue. You're generating revenue, but you're not making any profits.
Okay.
You're not yet profitable.
All right.
And so what we try to avoid is somebody has a great idea, but they haven't tested that idea. We want to make sure that the model has been tested and the model appears to be working. So it's revenue generating. It's not yet profitable, but it's revenue generating. We'll look at that. Maybe you can.
Yeah, I can share us as an example of the impact, right? So when Africa Invest, and actually when Boost Africa invested in Turaco, we had 100,000 customers, right? Today we have 4 million customers, 4.5 million almost across the continent. So that impact is entirely because of the investment that we received and the investment that Boost Africa made in our business.
Okay, so what helps folks is to then be able to understand that if there were 100,000 customers, for example, and this much needed revenue came in, or rather this much needed funding came in, what then did it allow Turaco to do that would then get you to 5 million? Because folks are thinking, okay, I have this fintech generating revenue. What will then I then be able to ask for or to apply for that would allow me to get to the point of impactful and then beyond revenue generation? So what did you do?
Yeah, so you need investment to be able to grow, right? You need to hire a team. You need to build technology. For us, we needed to build technology.
Okay.
And we couldn't have done that without investment. So we raised that investment. We built an amazing piece of technology to enable us to process a claim for 50 cents, right? Whereas most insurance companies are spending $50 to process a claim, right? That type of a thing. And enable us to onboard customers entirely digitally from end to end, right? So if you hadn't invested in the technology, there's no way for us to serve low-income consumers who are not able to pay more than 50 cents to $1 a month for insurance policies.
So you could make a case whereby it said, okay, fine. And I'm going to stick on this because it's for the benefit of folks who want to understand. You can make a case and say, yes, I do have 100,000 clients who are tapping into my system, health tech, for example, right? But in order to get more people on, and I need to make it more... I need to scale it up. I need to make it more user-friendly. I need to then be able to have somebody on their phone then, either use a USSD code or something to get into my system. In order to do that, I must build the technology. And you can make a case. We can actually see that if you did that, then this would work, right? Is that then, George, what you'd be looking for and say, actually, yes, we can see this come to life. We can see that they could get from 100,000 to 5 million in 5 years, give or take, if they had this technology?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it even goes further, Ndu, because remember, if you take a step back, what problem is Turaco trying to solve? It's a problem of access to insurance. It's a risk tool. If something were to happen to the main breadwinner, they are able to continue to live. Very often, people it just takes one severe medical case to wipe out the savings of a family.
Sure.
So that's what Turaco is trying to resolve. It's an insurance issue. And if you look at what in Kenya, the IRA, Insurance Regulatory Authority, has done very well, is to encourage microinsurance. In fact, there is a separate insurance regime for microinsurance. Whereas microinsurance before sat under the license of regular insurers, there's recognition that it's actually a tougher business, a different business. So very much the same way M-Pesa enabled us to get to the underserved. Microinsurance will also enable us to get among underserved. So the problem is lack of insurance to the underserved. The one solution is to use technology to reduce the cost of service delivery, to increase the distribution. So that's the case they make. But what do we look for in terms of impact? It's number of users, because those are people who are benefiting, people whose lives will not be disrupted. We also look for increased income. And there will be increased income when you don't have to take your savings and put them on medical emergency. We also look for, so the different indicators, the typical, we look for gender parity and diversity. Those are things we look for, and those are stories we want to hear, because that's what ensures sustainability of the business. So it's not just something that's relevant for big companies, but also for small companies.
We're talking about tech and innovation, and one would say in a lot of startups nowadays, tech is just one way that everybody has to get into. And as we talk about Turaco now, here's a question where as a company that is trying to solve a problem that is insurance penetration and uptake in the country, because we're still talking about 3%, right? And you want to get to everybody. But remember, we're also dealing with a population that is tech savvy, because 70% of the Kenyan population are the young people. So then investing into technology and innovation becomes paramount and must do. So with Boost Africa coming on board, what are the impacts that we're seeing, and how has this investment helped solve that problem that is access? Because we want everyone to come there, but not 3 million people will come to your office. Then your office becomes this piece of technology.
Yeah, it's a great question. If you're not building technology, you can't serve the majority of people in these markets with an insurance policy. It's really interesting. So every insurance company in Kenya is talking about all of their investments into technology and all the things that they're doing. Really, they're working with a separate company that's a technology company, and they're kind of bringing them in-house and using them that way. We're the first company to do both ourselves, right? So we're a fully licensed insurance company from the IRA to do microinsurance, which we're very grateful for from the Kenyan government. And then we're also an amazing technology company. So because all of that is together, there's not two people that need to eat from that cake, right? We're just eating by ourselves. And so we're able to get much better products delivered much more efficiently and much more cost effectively to the people that want to buy them, right? As you say, if 3 million Kenyans show up at my office door, we have a problem. Our office is located centrally. You can come if you want. You're always welcome. But people don't want to do that, right? People want to be able to interact with you digitally. They want to be able to WhatsApp your company and get a response very, very quickly. And so that's what we've built at Turaco, and that's what the investment that we received enabled us to build.
You know what's interesting, if you allow me to interject? Turaco has managed to get 5 million customers in 5 years?
Yeah, since we started about 7 years ago.
Yeah. If you look at the number of insured folks in the country, in Kenya, it's amazing. What you guys are doing at Turaco, that kind of growth is not seen in any insurance company. And I tease some of my colleagues in the insurance industry, because I know the numbers and I see the numbers. And I say to them, the cheese is moving. If you don't do something, if you don't invest in technology, the Turacos of this world are going to take over the space. They're the disruptors. And so getting insurance to the underserved, solving this 3% penetration rate, getting it to double digit like South Africa, that's where we have to head. And it's going to be technology that will get us there.
Yeah, our median turnaround time on a claim is 4 hours. Right, many insurance companies are taking weeks. Most are taking weeks, days to turn around a claim. We can do it in 4 hours. My goal for our team internally is 30 minutes, right? So we want to get to a point where majority of claims are actually being processed nearly instantly. And then for some claims
How long does Lemonade take?
Some of their claims are instant.
Yeah.
Some of their claims take about an hour.
Yeah.
I
thought you were saying lemonade the drink. I was going to say, well, you have to squeeze a lemon and add some water.
It's a nice name. It's a nice name for an insurance company,
great,
right? It's a little bit bitter, a little bit sweet.
Indeed.
So it's a U.S. insurance company that we've learned a lot from, and we're trying to bring those lessons into this market.
This is interesting because I think you may not like the next question, but then you're essentially doing something, of course, with this help, and I think that's a disruptor in the sense that that's what private business does, that it disrupts the status quo, first of all, that this thing that looks so monstrous and that's so difficult can actually be done with a little bit of attention and apply, some elbow grease plus, the much needed funding, but then also the integrity to then be able to do it and do it right. So then, is this a model that then can be replicated in government, George? And then we know that, of course, this is private business, but it clearly is answering questions that governments for years have been unable to answer.
No, I mean, you're asking the right question. Do uncomfortable is the right question. What is it government is supposed to do? Government is supposed to be responsible for social services like education, like health, housing, shelter over your head, the basic human rights. The thing is, governments haven't done that too well, and governments have limited resources. That's why private businesses come into education, come into health services, etc., etc. One of the conversations we had with Ted when we were waiting to come in was, how does Turaco work with SHA and SHIF? Because that's important. And maybe I shouldn't steal your thunder. You should respond to that.
Yeah, happy to. So it's interesting. SHA and SHIF, like Kenya's national health scheme, is the best in the continent, the best in sub-Saharan Africa. Right, I can say that.
On paper or in practice?
In both. Okay. Right. So you, as Kenyans, we should feel very blessed. We have some of the best that's out there. There's still gaps, right? So there's still a lot of people that aren't covered under that scheme. What we build at Turaco is try to be it's a product that tries to be complementary to the national scheme. So you can claim from SHA, you can also claim from Turaco on the same, and it works as like income replacement in some instances, right? If you've been hospitalized for a few nights, you get some paysa to be able to deal with other bills that you have. But I just want to hear you, like, Kenyans always have something to complain about, just like everyone in the world.
Absolutely. Why not? What would the world be without it?
I wish that SHA was better, but it's actually pretty great. If I was designing that scheme myself, right, for delivering that product, I would probably charge 2-3x what Kenya charges the majority of people that receive it, because it's actually very expensive to deliver that product efficiently in the ways that it's delivered. So I'm on record saying that now. There are still lots of gaps. There's lots of unhappy customers, and I think that's going to be the case forever. So I think that we need to continue to invest as a country.
So how do you work with them, though? How do you work with SHA and SHIF?
So we don't have a direct relationship with them. We work ancillary, right? So we work on the outside.
All right.
So you can place your SHA claim, and then you can send us those same documents. And if you have a Turaco policy, we'll pay you as well.
Voila. Okay.
So I'm looking at what we've just discussed here is a point where everybody comes together for a common good. I want us to talk about collaboration, and I want to look at how now Turaco is working with Boost Africa. There is SHA and others who are coming together to solve a problem. Just how critical is it for collaboration to be a mainstay in business, especially for startups? Because at the end of the day, we all want to win. But like you've said, a single bracelet will never jingle. How critical is it then?
Yeah, fantastic. I like that you've brought it back to the bracelets. You're absolutely right. And even as Ndu asked the question and I, passed on the baton to Ted, I was thinking about it. We could do better with collaboration for sure. Is this something the government could learn about using technology to get healthcare to the underserved? Absolutely. E-Citizen, with all its issues, has been proof that you can digitize a lot of services. The question is, how can we learn from that and learn from the private sector and deliver health services to the underserved? And it's doable. Could we collaborate more? Absolutely. Should we be talking to each other more? We could probably do it better. We tend to keep our conversations very siloed, whether it's in an industry. Sometimes we talk to each other and it's an echo chamber. Sometimes we talk across, whether it's through a private sector alliance or through some of these conferences. But yeah, I think we definitely will take that challenge, Dennis. We need to find a way to bring regulators on the table, bring other players on the table, bring government on the table. That conversation needs to happen, because we're talking about 75% of the youth who are getting restless, and for right reasons. They don't have jobs, they don't have services, and
they can't start business.
Yeah, and they don't have capital to start business, and if we who are in places of privilege are not able to resolve that, then honestly we're irrelevant.
I'm a bit of a capitalist, right? So
just a little bit.
I believe in the market. I believe in the free market. I believe that the biggest collaboration that we can make as people with influence and power is to let people live their lives, right? To get out of their way, to make sure they have the basic tools and infrastructure that they need to be successful, but then to let them innovate and collaborate in the ways that make sense for them, right? Turaco doesn't exist because somebody got together in a room with a bunch of smart people and said, let's create a business to solve medical insurance. Turaco exists because a few people that wanted to build a business said, what should we do that is interesting, that is a product that people want to buy, that solves a real problem. And I think if you look at, Kenya is incredibly entrepreneurial. If you look at all the entrepreneurs building businesses, right, these are the people that are going to build our economy. So I think we need to stay out of their way and let them build.
So, did Turaco pay you back?
Actually,
or how does that work?
Yes, how it works. It's actually an equity investment.
Okay.
So we take an equity investment. We put money into the company. We take an equity risk. If the company tanks, we all lose. If the company gains, we all gain.
Okay.
And right now, the company continues to grow in value. Our expectation is that we will make a big gain when we sell our stake ultimately. And what happens when that gain comes, we will return the money to the investors, but we'll also keep some of it, because we always invest alongside our investors. We put our money where our mouth is when we set up these funds. So EIB, Boost Africa, they invested in the fund, will get their money back plus. And if you look at the track record of previous investments, because EIB has been supporting African Invest for a long time, they will get a return on their investments like they have on all the other investments.
Sure.
But where they will not get a return on cash is the money they've used for technical assistance support, the grants. But what they will get there is impact. They'll be able to show how many new lives have come in and are insured through Turaco. They'll be able to show how many other people have access to fintech for some of the other investments we've done in the fintech. There's a ride-hailing app in Francophone West Africa, equivalent of Uber in Francophone West Africa. It's called Hish. They'll be able to see how many women drivers have now got a livelihood, because it's employing a lot of women drivers and creating a lot of jobs. They'll be able to see that sort of impact, because the technical assistance just boosts the business, if you like. That's how it works.
Okay.
I think if they were to sell their shares today, they would be very happy.
They would be happy with what they get from Turaco.
I'm trying to be more.
By God's grace. By God's grace, they would be very happy.
So it's like Shark Tank on steroids.
There you
essentially.
go. I'm not sure steroids, but yeah. The thing with venture capital is, like I said, you could invest in 10 companies, 15 companies. You're going to lose 10 of them.
But you're ready to do that.
It's not for the faint-hearted.
Okay.
My day job, I'm actually in private equity, not in venture capital. I've got other colleagues who have stronger hearts than me, who do the venture capital stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if I lost that many companies, I'd be looking for the tallest building to jump off. You know.
No, come on.
No. You know, on a light note.
Yeah.
So I want to look at. We have those in the continent who have an idea. I want to make it, and I want to make it big. I want to make money in this continent. But there is the challenge of where do I get funding? So there is the question of where do I go to? How do I start? How do I make it be a reality? So what would be the message? Turaco started from somewhere, had a dream, implemented it. A few guys in a room. Here we are today talking about if they sell their shares, they're happy. How would a young person, an entrepreneur today, listening to you speak, say, I want to be like Ted?
Yeah, that's a great question. First, be yourself. Don't be like me. But we're at such an interesting moment in history when it comes to building technology companies. My background is not in technology, right? My last business was a Pizza Hut franchise, right? So I've done a lot of different things on the continent in the 16, 17 years that I've lived here. But you can build a technology company today without needing to know how to write code, right? You can vibe code. You can work with these learning algorithms using AI. So I would say to those founders or those potential founders that are looking at a problem, if you have a real problem, if you're like, this is something that I know somebody wants to buy a product here, right? That's how I felt for insurance, right? I was like, I know my friends in Busia, they eat risk for breakfast, right? They know all of the risks in their lives. They know someone who's not been able to pay medical bills and lost somebody, right? So I know that that's a problem that somebody is willing to pay money for. We just need to figure out how to design the right product and then distribute to them efficiently. So I would say find that problem that you really believe in, that resonates with you, and then do the research and just start building, right? The first step to building is talking to 10 people, right? You tell 10 people, this is a problem I see, what do you think? And if they all say yes, then you talk to 10 more people. And then from those 20 people, you're probably going to say, hey, you should actually do it this way, or you should do it that way. And then you start pivoting on the idea. When it comes to raising initial investment capital, these are the big boys, right? You can't talk to African Invest day one. You can talk to angel investors like myself or other people that have done well enough in business that are willing to deploy smaller amounts of capital to get you started. And then once please don't everyone email me at once with that ask, but and then once you get enough traction, then you can start talking to the big boys and you can say, okay, I've proven this concept, right? I have some idea of product market fit, and now I need a big amount of investment to really build the technology the right way and to distribute the product effectively. And then you can apply or not apply, but pitch VCs to be able to invest in your business.
Let me just add to that, because what Ted is saying is spot on. If you come with an idea, it can't just be a good idea. You've got to be solving for a real problem. That's number one. Number two, you've got to put your own money. So, usually they say there's the first round. Where it's the sort of family and friends round. Or, as a friend of mine says, family and fools round. That's the one where, you take the early risk. Then you go and raise money for the pre-seed round. Then you go to the seed round. Then you go to the Series A. So there are lots of steps where you're raising for more money. Now, there are incubators and accelerators, some of them funded by folks like EIB, but also corporates are coming into the space. So one of the organizations I'm involved with is Britain. I sit on the board there. And they have set up an incubator and accelerator called the Beta Lab. And what are they doing there? They look for entrepreneurs and, looking for the Britons of the future. So people with good ideas, see if they can be incubated, accelerated, and possibly get some seed funding at that point. But again, it's a very rigorous vetting system. And the others who are doing it as well. There are other big corporates who are doing it as well. But that's...
I would just say most incubators are a total waste of time. So don't if you're really wanting to build a business, come there if you have a good idea. Exactly. If you already have an idea and it's working and you want some catalytic growth. But at the early stages, if you just have an idea, just do something, right? Ideas are so cheap. Everyone has an idea. The difference between a successful entrepreneur and everybody else is they actually tried.
The one who acted on the idea.
They actually tried, right? They put their money where their mouth is. They put their time where their mouth is, and they gave it a go. And you're going to fail sometimes, but this is my 5th business, and this is the one that's working really well.
There you go.
Right, so I'm not talking to you about all the other things that didn't go well. This one is working very well, and it's going to produce a great return.
And something Ted isn't saying is you were featured by the former U.S. President Obama. Yourself and a few others were called in for this innovative model. So you keep trying, you get it right at some point.
You get it right.
Yeah.
So bird's eye view, George, of the continent. Maybe you talk about different regions. You're looking at, Francophone Africa, West Africa, Anglophone West Africa, of course, then other parts of East Africa into Southern Africa. Do a bird's eye view. And would you say that the businesses that EIB through Africa Invest then has supported are answering questions, or are they offering solutions towards society issues that then have been able to get the funding, and are those thriving businesses today?
I think the answer to the last question first, are they all thriving businesses today? No.
Okay.
Because some will fail. But a good number, majority, because not all our investments come through the VC fund. Some of them come from the more mature private equity or our evergreen permanent capital vehicle or our European venture cap. Our European private equity strategy. We've got
this guy's so hard on the VC fund. The VC fund is doing very well.
It's actually doing very well. But just to answer your question, yes, they're answering real problems. Because first of all, what's the biggest problem we have in the continent today? It's jobs. So it's creating jobs. It's creating jobs. It's leveraging on technology. It's increasing incomes. It's putting money in people's pockets. So yes, it is serving the purpose for what it was intended. And that's why as the first Boost Africa fund was deployed and they're raising a second, it makes complete sense. Because if they were to look at how the first funds were deployed and what they did, it makes sense to build on that. You want more Turacos out there. So I would say solving real problems, yes. What are we seeing? We're seeing jobs created. We're seeing incomes increasing. And these are relevant solutions for today's world. In bird's eye view, I'll tell you, like, if I take a helicopter perspective, I look at, the most sophisticated capital markets. I was saying to Ted, South Africa, Johannesburg Stock Exchange, 1.2 trillion market cap. Nairobi Stock Exchange, $23 billion. Sorry, I should be clear, it's dollars market cap. Nigeria is probably around 60, 70 billion market cap dollars. Cairo, 55 billion. Morocco, 110 billion. So those market caps may sound big, but they're really not that big compared to the developed world.
Sure.
The only way we'll grow our markets is by making sure that there is a pipeline of new businesses coming. And it's going to come from the SME space and the MSME space, because that's where 75% of our economy in Africa is being driven for. So where's the future? I see a future where there are more SMEs and MSMEs growing. I see a future where more is invested in technology. We have 1% of data centers in the globe, in Africa. And we need data centers. So we just have to invest more. We don't invest enough in Africa as Africans. We need to invest more. I see more capital flowing into investments in the space, alternative investments. I see more African businesses growing. I see a bright but tough future. It's not just going to come by the click of the finger. It's going to take hard work. And we have to deal with the ills of our continent, the tough conversations around corruption, leadership, governance. We have to deal with those things because those impede business. But I'm hopeful because we don't have a choice. We have a continent of young people. We must create a future for them.
You either build it or you build it.
Exactly.
Exactly. A lot of work to be done, but then it's interesting because there are examples of how it actually can work and the folks who are ready to put their support behind it. But really quickly, it is profit. It is not EIB through Africa Invest saying, well, okay, this is lovely, this is Africa, and we want to help our brothers. It's very different from that, isn't it?
No,
it's commercial.
Profit with purpose.
Yes.
It's profit. And you know why it makes sense for it to be profit? It's what Ted said. It's a capitalist world. And if it makes sense, why not do it? If it makes sustainable, it's going to be sustainable if it's profitable.
Yeah.
And one story I like to tell, I said it last week when I was speaking at a different forum in the IFC forum in Zurich. What I said to them is that it's a bit of a pity that when you think about Java Coffee House, you think about Art Cafe, even Equity Bank in the early days, Junction Mall, all of those are locally owned today, and a lot of them are still foreign owned, but a lot of the capital they got initially was foreign capital. And sometimes we sit back and we watch private equity folks like ourselves investing foreign capital, and when we make the money, and the question you ask, what are we going to get for our shares? What are our investors going to get? The money will go out. Why can't that money stay here? Why can't we believe in our own businesses to invest? That's something we have to think about very hard.
Indeed. George Otto is the senior partner and MD Africa Invest East Africa and Southern Africa. Ted Pantone is the CEO of Turaco. Thank you for joining us in this conversation this morning. Of course, insights for us to look into in the future. But thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you so much.
Asante Sana. And thank you for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, this Tuesday morning. Conversations continue on another day. Enjoy the rest of your listening. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Lea Ubanga. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula is expected to officially open the International Scouts of the World Parliamentary Union Conference at a hotel here in Nairobi. The delegates who are meeting are also scheduled to visit national parliaments and Senate this afternoon. The union brings together parliamentarians from various countries around the world with the aim of maintaining cooperation in the implementation of their duties and exchanging ideas. This function was fast